That's what I saw.
Yep. Cool. Awesome. So group call for SASO University, August 4th, 23. Moved it 30 minutes up. So we'll probably have some people join later. Not a big deal. But since you're the only one that showed up for today out of the 51 people, basically it's just a one-on-one coaching for free that we can jump into.
Right.
So we can cover whatever you want to cover. What um, I will say is that I just posted a video in the membership. I don't know if you saw the post about it, but I just posted something in
Just
there.
now, yeah.
Yeah. So basically it's just using a new, I wouldn't say new to me, newer AI feature. It's like ChatGPT 4. It's more similar to ChatGPT 4. But the cool thing is it's not paid, it's free. So it's like a free version of ChatGPT 4. It's called Claude.ai. It's really nice because again, like with ChatGPT, I can put in files, I can put in all these documents, I can just upload things and I can say, hey, like read this document and summarize it for me. So it's really nice because you'll see in the video trainings, you'll see my descriptions are way more in depth because I just basically upload the transcript. I was like, oh, give me a nice description of this. So I put up the training. It's like 10 minutes, but in the 10 minutes, like just to show you how powerful Claude is, in the 10 minutes, I explain what a VSL is. I show 5 or 6 examples, and then I show you how to make one with a script and without a script, all within 10 minutes. That's how fast Claude is. So
Cool.
even if the full 10 minutes was about creating the VSL, which it's not, even if the full 10 minutes was about creating the VSL, that would still be like not bad, 10 minutes for VSL. But it shows you in like maybe 2 or 3 minutes how to build it out. So it's super, super efficient, really effective, really cool stuff. So Grant, saw Grant joined. Grant, as you know, we moved the session up a little bit. So we'll probably have people trickle in. But yeah, basically between the three of us, whatever
Sounds
topic you
good.
guys want to cover, whatever questions you have, um, we're to the point where I can let you know what trainings are coming out, or we can just jump right into like the questions you guys have, the sticking points. So it's really up to you two.
Well, well, do you have have anything, Grant?
So I would like so I was thinking about asking you about like how exactly because I know you're able to run like most of your stuff pretty like hands off, like just you and I was just kind of curious like the rundown of like your system and also with VAs like how do you like do you hire one for like each sub account or like each skill set and then like depending on how many they're serving you get another one or I'm just curious kind of about like the structure of that.
Yeah, that's a great question. I can definitely go in depth on that a little bit. Um, and I was actually talking to Kevin about this, who got the free coaching. Um, and then I actually dropped the first part of the training on this in the group. I don't know if you guys have seen it yet. It's the S in the SASO process. So remember, SASO is simplify, automate, scale, optimize. It's essentially very influenced from Six Sigma. Dude, are either of you familiar with Six Sigma?
Right.
And
I saw you commented on Dom's one of Dom's posts on his group, and so I like started looking it up, and it's like a like like
Process
organizational
management system.
structure of like companies and stuff like that.
yeah, yeah. So essentially, like so again, the SASO process, and then I'll cover a little Six Sigma stuff, and then where I kind of think the market is going, and why I'm actually coaching you guys a specific way, and I'll explain that a little bit. Um, it's funny, I'm actually tricking a lot of you into thinking you're marketers, and we're not. I'm going to show you how we're actually closer to consultants or even project managers, which is actually really cool. But essentially, Six Sigma comes out of Toyota, comes out of Motorola, these Japanese companies, and they were basically asking the question in the sometime in the 80s how they could be the most efficient production facilities. So Six Sigma refers to standard deviation. So essentially, what that means is if they're creating a certain amount of products, they want to have as few defects as possible. So I think the original standard was like 3 Sigma, and then they went to 4 or 5, and then they got to 6 Sigma, which essentially says we want to have less than 3.6 defects per million units produced. I might be wrong on the number. It might be 3.7, 3.6, somewhere in there. It doesn't really matter. But the idea is there's very few issues per million units produced. And the way they did that was they didn't say, how can we, well, the original question was like, how can we have as few defects as possible? And what they realize is that there's multiple forms of waste. And so if you can eliminate waste, the only thing you have left is, non-waste. Like we're using everything to the right way. We're using everything to its full potential. And then when they did that, they realized there's new types of waste. So you have, I'm going to butcher it because I don't speak Japanese, but you have Muda, M-U-D-A, Mura, M-U-R-A, and Muri, M-U-R-I. Again, probably completely butchering that. And the idea is that Muda itself is the original form of waste. And so this is going to sound really boring, but just bear with me because you're going to see how it helps make a lot of money. I'm going to show you how it makes a lot of money. So Muda is the original forms of waste. So they believe that there are 7 forms of waste. I don't have the list in front of me, but it's like motion, transportation, overproduction, yada, yada, yada. Then they had an 8th one that they added, which was underutilization of skills because they were looking at physical resources. And then they were like, well, wait a minute. What about the people side of things? What about the human resource side of things? So they realized there's an 8th form of waste, underutilization of skills. Then you have Mura and Murray. I couldn't tell you the difference off the top of my head. But I think Mura is like the overcomplication of tasks. So if you're doing something that's like too complicated, like you don't have to make it that complicated, just make it simple. And then you have Murray, I'm pretty sure it's Murray, which is basically saying like we have inconsistent results because of either a lack of standard operating procedures or no operating procedures. And so essentially that's where you have all this waste and inefficiency. And so the really cool part is in the first training that we cover, S for simplify, and I call it the most underrating component in scaling a business is essentially what you're doing. And this is where you get into a lot of project management stuff and a lot of Six Sigma stuff. So that's why I say, look into it. I'm glad you did. But this is, again, what I do is I have to essentially digest and break down all of these things into like really, really little baby terms for me to grasp it. So once I understand it on a very fundamental level, then the complicated terminology starts to make sense. But for me, whether you think I'm intelligent or completely unintelligent, I have to start from a very unintelligent point of view. And I have to act like a 4-year-old and ask like, why, I don't get it. I don't get it. Why? And I have to dig and dig and dig, go down every rabbit hole until I feel like I've grasped it. And once I've grasped it just enough, that's when you start experimenting. And that's when you realize, okay, I was wrong here, but I was right here. And then I start building my process. So the reason I put together the SASO process was not only to educate other people, but also to make Six Sigma applicable to these very small businesses. And so you have the traditional Six Sigma, you have lean Six Sigma, you have agile Six Sigma, and they essentially take different approaches for different business industries. I created SASO because I come from a project management background. I'm very familiar with Six Sigma. And the same thing happens every single time. If I'm talking to somebody who's very new and they have belts, I don't know if you look into it, but they have belts of Six Sigma. So there's like, I think they have white, which is like, it's not even considered a belt. It's just more so like, do you get the terminology? But you have yellow, green, and then you have 2 different levels of black belt. But essentially you have those 3 levels and you have to do certain project hours and it gets a little complicated. But the beauty of it is that you can take it, you can actually apply it to small businesses using SASO. So for SASO, the reason that it works is because we simplify the whole process, right? So we simplify, and that's what the training just dropped on. And so during the simplification process, what you learn is you essentially learn how to look at a task, every task that a business completes. You essentially remove any unnecessary tasks. So we just addressed Mura, right? The overcomplicated process. We remove anything that's, there's too much in there. We don't really need all that. So we remove all of that, anything that's unnecessary. Think about like cleaning the brush away, right? Like a forest fire burns everything it doesn't need and then regrows. So imagine that, like the forest fire. And then you have the remaining tasks and this is where it gets, so I know this is like kind of boring. It's a little dense, but this is where it gets cool, right? The remaining tasks can be separated into one of 3 categories: redundant, human work, owner work. And the training goes in depth on this. It's like 20, I think it's a 30-minute training, but essentially you have 3 different tasks. You have tasks that you can automate using Zapier, using High Level, using Integromat. You have tasks that require a human touch, like a revision, maybe sending an email out that's personalized. Maybe it's something that AI might be able to do in the next 3 to 4 years, but not right now. So you still need a human touch. Or it could be if you're working with an actual business, they have to have someone go mow the lawn. They have to have someone go fix the electrical. They have to have someone go and, beat the case for the guy who's on his like 5th indictment or whatever, right? You have to have someone who actually goes and do the work. And then you have tasks that the owner themselves has to do, whether that's whether he needs to do it, or delegate it, whether she needs to come in and answer those questions or put out that fire. You have tasks that the owner needs to do. And so essentially what you're doing in the SASO process is when you first simplify, and again, simplifying sounds so simple, which is ironic, but nobody ever does it. They always skip it. And I'll share why. But once you simplify and you have those 3 tasks, guess what you can do? You can now say, cool, I'm going to go back and color code these tasks. And maybe I'm going to break down the tasks. So I'll give you an example. Onboard new client. Is onboarding a new client just onboarding a new client? No. I need to know, do you have a website? Do you have a URL? Do you want one? If you want one, what is it? Do you have brand colors? If not, am I building that? If you have these brand colors, am I going to approve it or deny it? Like maybe that's really ugly because you just went monochromatic with, you know, the neon blue and it's awful. And so you have this whole process. And so what you do, and this is what we cover in the best vertical SWAS offer training, when you go through the comprehensive marketing approach, what do I tell you to do? I tell you when you're first building out the offer, what is it? It's a done for you and you document everything. And that's why this is where SASO, again, my whole process, whether you think it makes sense or doesn't make sense, as more trainings come out, what you're going to see is like, oh, that connects here and this connects here and that makes sense here because it's a process I've been building for 4 years and we've been having extreme success with our clients using that method. So if you go back and watch the comprehensive marketing training, you'll recognize where I go, hey, before you go to the done with you have to build a roadmap. And the best way to build a roadmap is to do it yourself, document everything. And then from there, you have all your tasks and you streamline it. How do you streamline it? Fast forward, now you're in the SASO training and that's where we streamline. So again, look at the onboarding process. And somebody asked that question in the group. It was like a few days ago. Document everything. Ask, how can I automate certain tasks? Or which tasks can I automate? Which tasks do I need a human touch? Which tasks do I need the owner's touch? And here's the thing. If you're a one-man show, you have to do both the owner touch and the human touch because you're the only human. Once you start accumulating monthly recurring revenue, ideally profit, that's where you can say, cool, I'm going to bring in a virtual assistant, which I will cover that as well, Grant, because I know that was your question. But I can now bring in a virtual assistant and now they can do the human touch and I can do the owner's touch. So what's the owner's touch at the first iteration of SASO? Well, Tim and Grant and whoever else, they still have to make sure that the payments go through for the subscription to the software. They still have to make sure that they're handling the accounting, the legal, they're talking to people on their team or they're hiring people to set this up for them, right? There's certain things that you don't want the VA doing. You want to be doing, right? There's certain things the boss does, the employee doesn't do, but the employee needs to be doing the day-to-day stuff. And so I saw this really cool video and it actually makes a lot of sense. Like if you want to learn how to build like $1 billion company, right? I wouldn't say $1 billion, but this is the idea of the video. He was saying, if you want to build like a massively successful company, they say, look at getting your first job. You come in, you're trained for 1 to 2 weeks. And then after those 1 to 2 weeks, you have to come in and work every day, 5 to 10 to 12 hours, right? Imagine, I know it's not possible for everybody because you're working a full-time job or in school or whatever, but imagine if you're able to apply that to your business, how much faster you could grow. And so of course we can't all provide or set aside that kind of time to work in the business, but guess what you can do? You can have a VA do it for you. And so the question becomes, how do I have the VA do it for me? Well, we have to simplify. Then we look at the work breakdown structure. So what is that? Essentially it says, for onboarding, I need to onboard. And then you want to ask what goes into that. And so you can brainstorm, but essentially the more you do it, the more you're going to realize, okay, I missed this. I need details here. This question becomes 2 questions depending on their answer. And so you can create this more meticulous, comprehensive guide. And essentially from there, you start recording little Loom videos and say, here's how I do this. Here's how to do that. Here's where I do this. And then the processes that you want to be a part of, you say, hey, you need to forward this to me using this. And when you do it here, maybe there's an automation that when they put it in a certain Dropbox folder, you get a Slack notification, you get a text notification. And that's where you're using high level, you're using Tegromat. So it can get complicated fast. That's why I have more trainings coming out on this type of stuff. But the entire idea is that we're asking how we can eliminate waste. And the first way we eliminate waste is we document what we're doing. And we ask, and that again, what covers in the training, but we ask, how can we do it better? Why do we do it this way? How can we do it better? Why do we do it this way? And you're just going on repeat. And this is one of my favorite things to say. Like when I work with a lot of businesses, they always almost miss this point. And so I'll ask you, like, who here has worked at like an entry level job at any point within your life for longer than 6 months?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let me ask you, have you ever had someone tell you to do something like a boss, or maybe you come in on training and there's like, okay, we do this that way. Have you ever thought to yourself, that is the stupidest way or the worst way we could have done it? Why are we doing it that way? We could do it this way to be so much better. Have you ever thought that to yourself?
Yes, I worked at like the most janky hotel ever, and they did everything wrong.
Perfect. So I always start with that because so now I'll ask business owners this all the time. And this is the next question. Who do you think, based off of that information, who do you think I should go to when I want to figure out how and why we do things a certain way? Do you think I should go to the business owner who hasn't put his hands or put her hands on the task in 3 to 5 to 10 to 15 years? Or do you think I should go to the lowest entry level person who is literally carrying the business on their back because they're doing all of these tasks day in and day out? Who do you think is going to have a better idea of how to make it more efficient?
Probably the employees.
Yes. Now we start there, right? Everything they tell us, we take with a grain of salt. And then I did this at a tire manufacturing plant when I worked with their industrial cleaning team. I went to them and I was like, I will take any feedback. Here's the only stipulation: it needs to benefit you, me, and the people we work for. At the bare minimum, it can't hurt anybody within one of those categories. So, for example, if I'm saying, like, I have a great idea, Tim does the work, I'm going to sit back. No, that hurts somebody in a category, right? In one of the categories. But if I say, hey, if we do it this way, Tim's going to be happier. I'm going to be more efficient. Grant's actually going to have less work. Tony's not going to have a headache. And Kevin is going to get information faster. Is that not a win all the way around? So I'd go, cool, let's try it. Let's test it. If it works, I give you the credit. If it doesn't work, I'm not going to put them down, because if I do that, what happens? I take away the ability to empower them to provide this type of information. I take away the ability to inspire them to want to take ownership. And so a lot of people say, like, and again, this is kind of like where you get to the cheesy part of the business, but hear me out. I did this with a group of individuals, 18 individuals with maybe a GED. Very rarely was it higher than a GED. They were looked down upon by most of the company. Some of them had a record, some of them had a background. And so because of that, people didn't want to take them seriously, didn't want to work for them. I took a group of 18 of those individuals on day and night shift, week and weekends. And I would basically say, if you have a better idea, I will do it. If we keep it, I will give you credit. And so we would have meetings. I would have had meetings with the head of procurement for the Goodyear tire facility, who was a very intimidating woman. And she would come down and she would be like, wow, this is way better. And I would say, yeah, it's because of that guy and that guy who actually had an idea to go this way about cleaning versus that way. And so guess what happened? These people who were on their hands and knees scrubbing bathrooms in a facility where the people hated them, these people were all of a sudden coming into work 5 minutes early. They were staying to make sure everything was taken care of. They were talking to each other. They were volunteering to help train each other. Why? Because I created ownership within the business. A business that, again, there's very few businesses that are that suck more than cleaning toilets in a facility with no air conditioning, by the way. So this stuff works really, really well because, number one, you streamline it. Number two, you're empowering the people doing the work to say, hey, rubber's hitting road over here, right? Like, I'm actually getting to the nitty gritty, and this didn't work the way we thought it would. And so for you as the coach, or for you as your own business owner, or for your client as the business owner, we have to remove that level of pride of like, well, this is how we've always done it. Cool. The dinosaurs are extinct, my friend. Like, we have to evolve. We have to move forward with this. So that's why I always like to start that question off with what I asked Grant, which was like, have you ever worked at entry level? And I asked the business owner that, have you ever worked in entry level business? Have you ever thought you help we could do it better? And they'll be like, yeah, especially the blue collar guys. Yeah, that's why I started my own business. I was so sick and tired of Jim Bob telling me what to do. It's like, cool. Do you think it's possible your team may have some ideas and maybe they feel a little bit kind of like the way you felt? Yeah. Were your ideas good? Yeah, they got me to where I am today. Cool. What if you had 20 people in your organization all giving you that kind of feedback? And what if when you accepted that feedback, you rewarded them by saying, hey, everybody give it up for Seth. Everybody give it up for Jenny. Everybody give it up for whomever who gave us the idea. Like get rid of pizza parties. Just start giving people credit for what they're actually doing. And then you can even, when it's your own business, you can give them bonuses, you can give them raises, and it really becomes your own business. You can do it however you want to do it. And so that's where it's really fun. That's why a lot of us start our own business, right? We can actually do what we want to do. We can reward the people we want to reward. We can work the hours we want to work once we get it going. So the Say So, that's how it starts. And to give you like an actual tangible example for a local business client, I met with a videography client. He's working, he was working 40-hour weeks. And he's like, I don't have time to do any of this stuff that you're telling me to do. I'm like, cool, let's simplify before we scale. So think about this. If he has 40 hours and I'm telling him that he needs to handle this, it's a DWI client. So I'm telling him what to do and he does it. I don't do it for him. So I'm telling him, hey, you need to do all this stuff. And he goes, that's 10 hours of work. I'm working 40 hours. 40 plus 10 is 50, right? So I go, cool. Let's look at what you're currently doing. Let's write it out. Let's write it down. Now let's look at those tasks. Let's write out the frequency that you're completing those tasks. Let's write out how often you have to do those tasks. Let's group those tasks together. So if you're filming content, what if you filmed all in one day, edited it all in the next, right? What if you did everything in batches? And then we took his work week from 40 hours to 10 hours. And then we added buffer time. We said, well, let's say this thing take twice as much time, certain tasks, right? Let's say you got to drive to and fro. So it got to 17 hours. 17 hours is very low part-time. That's like not even part-time. So now when I take 17 and I add the 10 hours of work that I gave him, he's at 27. 27 versus 50. What kind of week would you rather work? A 27-hour week where you know I have a meticulous schedule that's disciplined and it gets everything done that I need to as fast as possible, or 50 hours where I feel lost, confused, frazzled, and eventually I'm going to burn out and quit and I'm going to hate the very business that I started, even though I started a business that is my passion and my skill set. And so that's where the simplify process has like this massive compounding effect because you're saving time and then we're going to automate. So now you're saving you more time. What if we could automate outreach? What if we could automate client feedback? What if we had automatic outreach that every 2 weeks it reached out and said, hey, how are you doing? Like what's going well with the business next 2 weeks? Hey, how are you doing? I want to see if there's anything that's causing you any frustrations. What if you just had that on repeat? Like all of those menial tasks could be on autopilot. And then the human touch, when they respond back, you have a human respond to them. And then and then all of a sudden you have way less work on your plate. And now you're just watching all these things. Now your job is make sure the people know what to say back. They know how to do their job, SOPs, which we record on Loom. You put it on a Google Doc where it's like, how to do this, click the link. And then it goes to the Loom video. How to do this, click on the link, goes to the Loom video. And then you have the software doing the automations. And all you're doing is making sure the automations are working. You're just doing quality assurance all the way around. And because you built your business the right way, where you're doing the work and you're scaling as you go and you're simplifying, automating, scaling, optimizing on repeat, guess what? If something falls apart, guess who already knows how to do everything that they just automated? You do, because you were there at the ground level when you worked your way up. You were the entry level and then you became middle management and then you became senior management. Yeah, Grant.
So in terms of like all the sophisticated, like super complicated workflows and like integrations and stuff, when you onboard someone, like you probably don't have like the full detail during like the onboarding process. So like you give them a setup, like according to like what you think works for them. And then kind of as you consult, you build upon that. Is that kind of how you do it?
So, and short answer is yes. The long answer is it depends on how you're setting up your business because there's a few different ways, right? And I'm as I mentioned in the trainings, I'm going to go back and continuously redo them and re-add to them and make them more clear, concise, and also have different avenues. And so what I mean by the avenues, and this is going to answer your question directly. Let's say you just want to resell SaaS. You don't want to do marketing at all. You just want to resell SaaS. And I'm not, let me be clear. I'm not talking about you're a SaaS company. No, I'm talking about you are reselling SaaS. So we know that when you're reselling, there's very, very little, if any, competitive advantage, right? Grant, would you say that's pretty accurate?
Very accurate.
Perfect. So how do we create a competitive advantage when there's none, there's no barrier to entry? Anybody can hop in and compete with you. Here's exactly how you do it. If you just want to resell SaaS, okay, you pick a focus or a niche. With the niche, it doesn't matter. Yep, I'm going to add value is always going to be the answer. Here's how we do it on autopilot for the reselling SaaS. So very, very good comment, Tony. Yeah. adding value. So how do we do that with just reselling SaaS? We go niche or we go focus. So what's an example of focus? Look at Course Creator 360. He's reselling high level, but what is he focusing on? Course creation. All of his content is on how to build a course. Once you get in there, he's got back-end training on how to build a course. So it's all focused on one focus. Now, could I start competing with him? Yes. Could I start stealing people away by looking at his marketing and saying, hey, don't go with him, go with me. And I start ostracizing him and using antithetical claims. Could I start doing that? Yes. But if he creates a membership within his group, similar to SASO University, but it's all focused on one feature of the software, then he's going to have a competitive advantage over someone who's saying, this is my software. It's mine. No, it's not. It's essentially, because here's the thing. When you are reselling just one software, do you know who your main competitor is?
HubSpot.
Your main competitor when you're reselling any software is the main company itself. So if you are reselling high level, your main competitor is high level and they're going to beat you every single time because they already have the training. They already have the video resources. They already have the back-end Zoom support. They already have the presence. They already have the process set up. They already have the affiliate program. They already have all of that put in place, right? So your main competitor, when you're just generically reselling SaaS, is the company you're competing with, whether you're reselling high level, whether you're reselling ClickFunnels, whether you're reselling an email marketing tool, whatever you're reselling. So you have to have, like Tony said, value. And the way you do that, if it's just reselling SaaS, I'm not talking about moving into SWAS with when you're doing service with the software. When you are just reselling SaaS is to have a focus or to niche down. Now, how do we niche down with reselling SaaS? Because you might be thinking, well, hang on, I thought we niched down for a service with a software. When you niche down for SaaS, here's what it looks like. Instead of focusing on a feature, we focus on an industry. So now I'm going to have a website. And let's say my website is, hey, this is for the DIY blue collar business. This is for DIY plumbers or lawn care, or maybe it's just the whole industry. Maybe it's DIY lawyers. It's the DIY. And so when you work with us, number one, our YouTube, our socials, all going to be about how you can do it yourself and don't pay anybody else. And they overcomplicate it and they overcharge and they add in, they have 80% profit margins. I'm going to criminalize everybody who's doing SWAS. I'm going to say, you can just do it yourself. Or you could just imagine you just have one of your employees come in and do all this for you. And they just follow the courses that we build. So then when I sign up for the high level with them, with their sub account, guess what I have? I have a custom link in there. And the custom link is building website for lawn care, marketing for lawn care, automations for lawn care, my top 10 favorite automations for this. And then I'm going to integrate it with HL Pro or Extendly. So if they do have questions, I'm not even going to be answering those questions. And so you want to talk about onboarding, they could just sign up for the link and then there's a training in there. Hey, here's how to do it yourself. You don't need me. And if you want me, you can pay this little fee and I'll set it up for you. And then I'm going to pay the fee to Extendly or HL Pro. Cause I know Extendly does, but you can pay one of them to onboard your clients for you. I can go pay my VA. Hey buddy, I need you to go speak with him via chat and get everything you need. Or, hey, I can send out a form. If they click a button, say, hey, I want to do it for you. They pay. As soon as they pay, I have an automation that just sends out an email. Hey, fill out this Google form. They put out that information, sends it back to me. It could be a 28-page form. And then cool, I give that to the VA. He starts building the website. So this is just reselling right there. That's two really powerful business models of I'm picking a feature and I'm dialing in, or I'm picking an industry and I'm dialing in. And I would rather go with the industry route because you could say, hey, if you're an underwater basket weaver, if you're an in-flight missile repair person, if you're whatever obscure business, here's how to build websites for your business. Here's how to do it yourself. And then what's the upsell? We'll set it up for you, but you manage it your own. You own it. It's yours, blah, blah, blah. And again, whatever angle you pick, you have to ostracize the competition. You have to be antithetical to the opposition every single time. So if I'm SWAS, I'm going to demonize SaaS. If I'm SaaS, I have to demonize SWAS. And if I'm PPC, or if I'm one specific component, I need to demonize the jack of all trades people. If I'm a master of one, I have to demonize the others and say they're a master of none. And if I'm the jack of all trades, I have to say, hey, what's the expression? A jack of all trades is a master of none, right?
Yeah.
And basically saying like, hey, it's better to have a little bit of everything than none of everything except for one thing, right? So whatever angle you're going to pick, you have to ostracize the other side. And so that's why I love going into SWAS, because with SWAS, I can have the niche focus I just described to everybody. I can have that as my entry level offer. My entry level offer can be this fully kitted, built out training template. I release and think about do the same thing I do in SASO University. Hey, we're dropping templates for tags, templates for emails. I'm going to show you trainings on this every single week that drop. We can set up for you. You can do it yourself, and then we have coaching calls, and you could have this fully built out system, fully automated. Here's the catch: you can't price more than $297 on that. You really can't. It doesn't make sense to do 97 because 97 is like it's high level. Whereas I've added to it now, right? But if I'm coming in, I'd say I'm doing minimum. I'm probably going like, depending on and this is where you can truly use the SaaS reseller and high level, where I can maybe say, oh, cool, entry level, you just get this, and then you upgrade, you get this. So maybe you could go like 97 to 497, right? Just like high level. And then you just limit what they gain access to, but they always gain access to the full training. That way it's kind of enticing them like, oh yeah, pay more, get all the features. And that could be your bottom DIY tier where you're even splitting it into thirds. So that's where, again, you can use reselling SaaS, but again, that's where you're going to have to go for volume. Number one. Number two, the more work you expect them to do, the more likely they are going to be to quit or to leave or to, issue. They're going to say like, I never paid for that. And they're going to tell their bank, it was a fraudulent charge. And there's a lot more headaches involved. That's why I like SWAS a little bit more, because I can send over a contract and they're legally bound to it. And so the contract is really nice. And you can have a terms and service, but anytime someone is easily able to just sign up and cancel without having to talk to you at all, you're going to get a lot of potential fraud issues. So I like the SWAS because the ticket price is much higher. The work can still be automated. There's less headache, right? If I'm working with 3 to 5 clients who are paying me between 3 and 9,000, that's a lot to me. That's a lot easier than if I have, 90 people paying me 100 a month. Because then I have the potential of 90 complaints versus the potential of 5 complaints. So I have less to automate. And again, there's ways you can do it with Extendly and HL Pro and things like that, but that's just my 2 cents on it. Yeah, 80-20 rule. 80% of your complaints come from 20% of your people. Assuming everything's done right. So if you have one bug, they will come for you. They will attack you. So I know it's a longer answer. I always like to give, especially on these calls, like a lot of context and go really in depth. Does that kind of help? Oh, well, I know you had more about the VA, but just on the reselling and packaging, does that kind of answer your question, Grant?
Yeah. Kind of how I set mine up was, like, I know you were telling me just to like throw all the features. Like, I haven't figured out necessarily like all the stuff I'm gonna do for like people that I'm really hands off with. In a sense, like, like when I start like offering like, oh, like here's the software and there's a course with it and templates and blah blah blah. I'm more just dealing with like people I'm like working hands on with, like doing a bunch of different stuff. And just was just like kind of like, yeah, I was just more curious about like as like you progress with them, like hop on a call every other week or so. like um like how do you progress their like system setup in a way, because you start learning more. They're like, it's like, would you just figure that out during a consulting call and then
Yeah. Yeah. So essentially, like, just to make sure that I understand, you're saying like when you're working one-on-one, there's more work that goes into it, more details come up because they're essentially having to communicate to you what they want done versus you just doing it, or versus rather them just doing it. Is that about right? Like you have to do.
yeah, like
Okay.
initially I'll set up like a nice workflow and like system for them and stuff. But like as things like progress, there's like more like I start learning more about the business and stuff. Like I see opportunity to like jump on like this kind of automation because I figure out they're doing this or that, or like they're using this other CRM too. And I'm curious of like do you find it necessary to try to jump on like all those opportunities, or you just try to keep it simple for yourself? And
Yeah. So it really depends on like what is the scope of the project. Within scope, and this is something like I cover again in the training that we just dropped, but you have what's called the iron triangle, right? And essentially it determines quality. And again, this is like project management, Six Sigma stuff, really, really boring stuff. But once you understand it, it's very nice to reference and structure within the business, right? So within the iron triangle, you have resources, and for them, resources includes cost or includes pricing. So I want the training to be really applicable to you, like the call to be really applicable to you. Do you mind sharing like with this client roughly what you're charging them a month?
yeah, I'm charging them 500 a month, and like I used to work for them when I was in high school, and so like it's kind of because with them it was like one of the like before I was even on sat like on your group and everything, it was like one of the first like SaaS clients like I got. And
Gotcha.
so it's just been like all over the place because like I didn't even he didn't even know I did all this SaaS stuff when I reached out to him. It was more of like I remember him talking about it, like talking about how he needed a website a while back. And then so like that's how I initially like started things. And then from so like with him being a client, it's a little bit like unstructured, and like every time like I see like an opportunity or something, I always just jump on it like in his business. But I'm trying not to do that because I want to keep like my package like tight.
So what I'll say is, you mentioned it's like one of your first clients. That's exactly how I started. I started with website, and I was like, oh, I could build you a website. Like that's easy. And then we built it, and I was like, oh well, like the website isn't converting. So how do I get traffic? I was like, well, there's SEO. Oh, let me do SEO. Let me do, oh, well, Google business is a big part of local SEO. So there's SEO and then there's local SEO. I need to focus on local SEO. That's more effective than SEO. Cause I don't care if he gets a client on the other side of the country. He needs the clients here. And then from there, it's like, SEO is killing right now. Is there a way to promote? Okay. Paid ads. Well, how do we do paid ads for local? And that's for me, how it evolved into, um, like what the offer was. So again, go back and look at the best vertical SWAS offer training. Look at the marketing ascension model. How does it start? It starts off with, I can build you a website. I can fix your website. Your Google business profile is not optimized. I can optimize it for you. You start with these really low items, and then you do exactly what you just described. Hey, here's another opportunity. Here's another opportunity. Here's another opportunity. And then you could say, hey, we've maxed out the organic opportunities. The next step would be paid listings. But oh, cool. How do we do that? Well, we would do essentially these things. However, I need to let you know, like for us, because of where we are in the, you know, what we discussed initially, or because of whatever, that would be an upcharge 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, whatever extra a month. So I can always help you with that, or you could do it yourself. Right. And so you want to have certain boundaries. So anything that's organic that they're not paying to do, yeah, you could hop on all of that stuff for them. And here's what I'll tell you, right? You're going to get better. As you get better, you're going to realize I'm really good at XYZ. So what if I want to change my focus from websites to automations? What if I want to change my focus from automations to bridging software together? So I'm going to use automations like Zapier and Tegromat, and I'm going to connect blue collar software with high level, or with ClickFunnels, or with WordPress, or with all three, depending on what I think is the best fit for the client. And so from there, what you're essentially doing, right, is you're figuring out your own skills, strengths, and preferences. But here's the part where I think you might feel a little confused or concerned about. You might be wondering, well, is the client like, can they see through me? Is that a concern? Like, can they see that I might be new or inexperienced, or maybe I don't quite have a solid plan? Do you feel like that might be a concern of yours, or am I way off?
Um, Maybe like a little bit, but it's more of like especially someone like it's I'm trying like I'll have it more defined like as I start getting new clients like from like more like in like more from like my marketing efforts.
Yeah.
But with him, it's more of just like if he's like actually like I'm trying to like spew all this stuff to him and stuff, and like if he's like actually seeing the value, you know?
Okay. Yeah. So that's definitely different. But here's what I want to say about the first part, in case anyone ever feels like that. If you ever feel like I don't know what I'm doing, but every time I see an opportunity, I'm jumping on it. If you were a business owner or if you have a VA, wouldn't you want your employees to be that way? Wouldn't you want them to be like, boss, I found this opportunity. I want to jump on it and make this happen for you. Hey, I went ahead and took the initiative of doing A, B, C, and D for you. You're going to see more clients in the pipeline, or your clients are going to be happier faster, or you're going to have less work on your plate. So when it comes to I'm jumping on every opportunity and I'm going to figure out what I like or dislike, do it, because you're going to find out very quickly, what do you want to do? What do you not want to do? And then guess what? You're gonna honor your word, because that's gonna be the best thing you have in business in life is your reputation, is your word. So you're gonna honor your word, but guess what? You're not gonna do. You're never gonna do it again for the next client. You're never gonna do it again, because you're like, I did it for this guy. It sucked. I don't want to do it again. And this is something I was talking to Kevin about. This is something I was talking to Imram about this past week. When you do something that you really dislike and you finish it through, number one, you can hold your head up high. Number two, guess what? You now know within the fibers of your DNA, I am never doing that again. So when somebody says, Grant, I actually love what you did over here, and you're like, what the heck? I didn't do that. I didn't think I did that well. And like, I love what you did. Can you do it for us? You can now charge what we cover in the best vertical slash training. My favorite thing ever that I've coined, the smile fee. You can now say, that sucked. So if I'm doing it again, this is my feed to actually do it with a good attitude, to actually see it through and have a smile on my face the whole time. So you can be like, it was $500 a month and that sucked. But if he paid me $2K a month, I'll come into work skipping. Like, that's the approach that you want to take with your pricing. And guess what? If they say yes, great. If they say no, cool. I didn't want to do it anyway. That's why the smile fee is one of my favorite things ever. And you can do that with tasks. You can do that with clients. You can do that with timelines. This is the fun part. Like, when we're starting, we always talk about like, hey, to build your business, you kind of got to go through the suck, right? It's a term in the military. It's just called the suck. It's just doing things that suck because it's going to pay off. So once you get out of the suck phase, right? Once you get out of the phase where everything was just off, that's where you get to really enjoy the privilege and the benefits of being a business owner. Because I have people come up to me and they're like, I want you to work for me. And I go, cool. This is my starting package before we even start talking. And they go, can you do this? And I can say yes. And I just did this with a client. I said yes because I love your mission. I went to another client. I had another client come to me. They were like, can you do it for less than your package price? But it was more than what the first guy said. And I said, no, because it's my business and I can pick who I think is a good client or not. Right? I can say, I can work with you based off this or that, or you can't afford me. And you can essentially have a lot of fun with it. So now let's look at the providing the value, right? Number one, I don't care if it's your first client. I don't care if it's your 50,000th client. When you get into, when you start working with an individual, you need to collect point A of the case study. So go back and watch the step 6 training, building or collecting, it's like the social concept of what you're doing, right? Building the testimonials, building the case studies. Go back to step 6. Anytime you work with a client, you need to hop in there and you need to screenshot their dashboards, their analytics. You need to ask them what's going well, what's not going well. You need to get a full diagnostic. I'm talking full. I'm talking look at the cavities that people don't want to look at. And I'm not talking about teeth if you pick up what I'm putting down. I'm talking about look in every crack and crevice, get everything, the good, the bad, the horribly ugly, and document it. So then when you start working on that website, anything that is beneficial after you have started working, I have good news and I have bad news. It's the same thing. It's from you. It's from you. If you are coming in and you are getting more views and you barely change the website, guess what? That's from you. There's no other reason why traffic would be spiking. If you are doing the SEO, if you're doing the local GMB, if you're helping them on social, if you're just coaching them, I have done 30, 60, 90-minute coaching sessions that have made people thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Guess what? I can take credit and put that on my resume. Did I do it fully myself? No, but I can take credit and said, we had a coaching call. This individual is now making $200K a year. We had a coaching call. They went and closed a client. We had a coaching call. They came out of the coaching call feeling refreshed, rejuvenated, motivated. Whatever the before and after is, that is the value. So for you, Grant, wherever you are with this client, pause, look at the dashboard. And if you can, go back and look at the analytics from when you very first started. Google Business, Google in itself, Google Search Console, Google Business, they're phenomenal at collecting data, right? Go back and look at the very day you started working with them and look at the numbers. And then look at the numbers from where you are now and be like, whoa, this was me, right? And now there's certain numbers that we're not really going to look at. We're not going to look at their revenue per se because you're not pushing people, you're not closing people. You're going to look at traffic. You're going to look at conversions. When I say conversions, you're looking at signups, form fill outs, calls, that kind of thing. If you're pushing it to somebody who, for example, if I push a client to you and you pick up the phone and you start cussing them out, that's not a reflection of what I did. I pushed the person to you. If you couldn't close, that's on you. And that's something I'll tell people. Listen, I'm going to push people your way. You have two responsibilities: pick up the phone and do what you do as well as you do it. I can't do those two things for you, nor will I, nor can you pay me enough to do it. But I'm going to push people your way. I'm going to coach you. I can even tell you what to say when you pick up the phone. I'm not going to do all that for you. Why? Because I don't want to work a 40-hour work week for you. I want to work an hour for you, an hour for him, 2 hours for her, 3 hours over here. And right there, I want to bring in 20 to 30 to 50K a month, working 8 hours a week, not a day. So that's where, and again, sometimes there's going to be times where you underprice and you're never going to do that again because you're going to be like, that sucked. There's going to be times where you say, I can do all this stuff and you can't, and you got to go and learn how to do it. Or maybe you got to pay every penny you made to a VA to do it for you. And that's going to suck. But I promise you, once you get out of that stuck phase, you're going to come out of that and you're going to be like, whoa, I know way more than I did then. It's like you can touch a hot stove one time and know I'm never touching a hot stove again, right? If I tell you, don't touch the stove, don't touch the stove, don't touch the stove, the minute I look away, you're going to be like, third-degree burns. And you might even leave both hands on there just to prove a point. So again, there's a lot where many people are right now within the group, not everybody else. There's some people who are just on the scaling and it's going super well. But for where many people are right now, you're in the suck phase. Again, it's an army term. You're in the suck. You're going on a 80-hour work week on 2 hours of sleep, and you're digging a trench at 2 a.m. to sleep in a dirt hole. You got no AC in the middle of Georgia, or maybe no AC in the middle of the Middle East. I've been in both. It just sucks. But the minute I got out of the military, the minute I got out of the suck phase in my business, in the military, in my life, I look back and I go, whoa, it sucked. I wouldn't want to do it again, but I don't regret it for a second because look at where I am now. There's been times where I priced something. This is a lesson I learned very recently. I priced something and I was like, this is a high price. And the dude was like, this is exactly what I said. I said, price is 10-2. He goes like this. Oh, that's it. And I was like, because I probably just left about 5 to 10K on the table. I probably could have pulled a 20K paycheck off this individual. And I got 10-2. And I love 10-2. But I know moving forward, I'm going to say it starts at versus it is this. So I'm still learning. And the cool part is that failure or that mistake, it cost me 5 to 10K. But guess what? That's 10K in a day. So now when I fail, it's a game. It's fun. Because that 10K, I'm going to take $250. Yeah, it's $250 of the 10K. I'm going to take $250. I'm going to have my team build the whole thing. And then I'm going to come in, they're going to build the whole funnel. They're going to build all the technical stuff. I'm going to come in and I'm going to add all the copy. How do I know what copy to add? Because I've been doing this for a couple of years. I'm going to edit the images and the graphs. I'm going to tell my team, this is the type of image I want. So yes, they're going to do the work, but I'm going to be the visionary. I'm going to say, no, I want it to look like this. I want this filter on the picture. I want the graph to look like this. I want this to be this. I want the copy to be like that. So yes, they are doing the work, but unless you know how to direct them, it's going to be kind of bad. So how do you know how to direct them? You funnel hack. You look at your competitors, you do it, you fall on your face, you get up, you fall on your face, you get up, you fall on your face, you get up, and you fall on your face. But here's the thing, every time you get up and you fall, you're falling forward because you're not quitting. And then you find VAs and you test them. I can't tell you how many I've fired hundreds of VAs. I have 4 right now, and I'm keeping them. Took me a while to find those 4, but I found them. I keep them. I give them good instruction, and they are very fast to communicate back. They check the boxes I want checked. Does that answer the question? I know it's a lot. I know I'm throwing a lot at you.
Oh yeah, I'm under like I'm understanding it all for sure.
Okay. And again, if at any point it's, confusing, if you need more details, if you need it said one way versus another, that's what I'm here for. So the gist of it is, like, people love to overcomplicate when they sell things, especially coaches. They love to be like, this method doesn't work, and you have to join me to find my proprietary method. And we're going to show you how to do this, this, and this, but I'm not going to tell you how. And then once you go and you actually work with these individuals, you're like, this is the stupidest, most simple process ever. Like, why did I pay, $200 for you to tell me this? Why did I pay $2,000? Why did I pay $20,000? Like, this is a waste of time. Business is really not complicated. It boils down to, I need to generate traffic, push them to a conversion mechanism, and then I need to make sure that I'm actually doing what I told them I was doing. And the best way to figure out if they're happy with that is just ask them, what are you happy with? What are you unhappy with? Are you thinking about maybe, what would it take for you to grow? Hey, we made you a lot of money. Do you think it's just communicating? If you can communicate, I hate the idea of a communications degree, but if you can, honest to God, just talk to them like you would talk to a sibling, a really close friend. If you can just talk to them with that level of candor, you will go so much further in business than any degree, any certification can ever put you. Why? Boils down to this. Ready? Would you buy, like, I have an iPhone charger. Grant, do you have an iPhone? And
Yeah.
okay, I'm picking on Grant this call, but we're just going to let it happen. Uh,
Cool.
okay, you have an iPhone. How much would you pay for this block? Would you pay $1,000 for this block?
No.
Why not? It's a really good block. It charges, you plug it in. Look how small it is. It fits the exact port I think you need. Why wouldn't you don't want to pay 1,000 for it?
I can get the same thing for cheaper.
Okay, cool. But like, this was my block. Like, what if one day I'm famous? You don't want my block for
Uh,
1,000?
I'm okay, thank you.
Okay, perfect. Now, what if I turn around and say this? Hey, Grant, let's say you have $1,000 in disposable cash. What would you throw $1,000 at and be really happy to get?
Like anything?
Anything. Well, anything you get for $1,000. Realistic, of course. Like, you're not going to get, like, Tesla, but like, realistically, what's something that's like, if you gave 1,000, maybe you're like, oh, I didn't think I could get that. Maybe that'd be really cool.
Oh, one of those like jet powered surfboards.
Okay, cool. Grant just told me what he wants $1,000 for. So if I go get Grant a surfboard, a jet powered surfboard, maybe even right under 1,000, what is going to sell better? What he told me he wants, or the power block that I think he wants? It's going to be exactly what he wants. So that's why communication and just being candorous is so much more effective. Now, the question, because I don't want to oversimplify and people go like, oh, I just have to ask what you want and go get it for you. The question becomes how? And so that's where you have to have the strong offer. The easiest way to do that, step 1 training, antithetical claims. Look at what the market is doing, elevate, and then be different. And it's like how a horse moves in chess or whatever the piece is called. I'm probably butchering it. Somebody will probably come for my life because of that. But the horse moves like the L, right? Forward 1 and then over. That's how I want you to look at the antithetical claim. It's up 1, over. Or maybe it's up 3 and then over 1. Either way, you're moving up and away. That's the whole idea with the antithetical claim. So if someone's saying, I can get you 10, I can get you 30 leads. Cool. I can get you 30 clients, and we're not going to use that method. We're going to use this method. It's like, whoa, that's a huge promise. Yeah. So guess what I'm not going to do? I can't charge low because I'm giving you a really powerful offer, because I'm doing it a really special way. Now I can validate the pricing in the offer alone.
If you so if you're like positioning yourself as like, hey, like I teach or I provide like getting you clients without like spending money on ads. Like, you know how like you can position yourself like that? Like you know what I mean? Like I can get you more clients organically without ad spend. And like, so like I've always just been confused because like I'll see like a lot of agencies, like they'll have like an antithetical offer and stuff. But like as you start working with them, they do the thing they butcher, you know what I mean, eventually or something.
Do you know why? And I'm so glad you said that. Do you know why?
Why?
because there's only 3 ways or 2 there's really only 2 ways and 2 variations of those 2 ways. So let's call them 4 ways to be dramatic. There's only 4 ways you're gonna get clients. Either I reach out to you, you reach out to me and it's organic, or I
Mhm.
pay to reach out to you, or you pay to reach out to me. And you could classify paid ads. That's me paying to reach out to you. Paid PPC, pay per click. That's me paying for you to reach out to me. SEO, that's organic for you to find me. Or cold DMs, that's organic for me to find you. There's referral marketing. That's organic for you to find me. Maybe I'm paying. Maybe I'm paying for the referral. Maybe I'm paying for the affiliate. Maybe I'm paying for the overlap agreement. Now I'm paying for you to find me. That it always boils down to that, and then it boils down to how can I organically find you and you find me, and how can I use money to find you and use money for you to find me. That's what it always boils down to. So when they butcher it, that's why the antithetical claim is so funny because it's like if I start with organic, I have to go paid. And for paid, guess what happens? If you jump right into ads, it's not going to work well. Why? Because if you have a structured, already established website with a domain on Google, or if you have an already set up social media page, guess what? Your pixel is going to perform better because it already has an idea of what's going on. It already has an idea of who's engaging with you. You already have site strength. You already have keyword rankings. It's going to perform better. If I have the same campaign for something with uh, paid and something with, or excuse me, if I have the same campaign for something that's set up and something that's not set up, new versus old will almost always win. Unless I'm working with old that has a terrible brand, like Tim just said, brand is fuel. Maybe the brand is terrible, like the bounce rate is awful. Then yeah, you've got more to work with, but it's almost always going to be like 90% of the time, it's going to be better to work with an um, already established business. But the paid, the organic SEO is SEO. Hey, that's all it is. There's search bar optimization. There's Google business profile optimization. There's keyword ranking. There's off page, on page. There's metadata. Like SEO is SEO. Paid is paid. Social is social. If you opened your feed and you saw like Instagram is scroll up, TikTok is scroll up, Facebook is scroll up. If you were on your social media feed and then you saw something where it's like scroll sideways, you're like, oh, what the heck is that? Oh, it's a carousel. That's why they had carousels because it was disrupting the thing. If you open your feed and it was all of a sudden like scroll down, and then my one post you had to scroll up, and you're like, this doesn't even work. It doesn't even make sense when I say it. Like, no, you're never going to see something new. That's why when platforms come out with a new feature, what do? They reward every single person for using it, right? When they came out with, was it Reels on Instagram? That's why Reels blew up all over. That's why there's a lot of memes. Like, I don't know how much you guys are seeing memes, but there's a lot of memes where it's like making fun of how TikTok will have a meme and then Reels or shorts, YouTube shorts will have the same meme like 5 years later. It's always making fun of that. Why? Because those platforms rewarded everybody for posting. And so how did everybody post? They just said, well, let me take what worked here and repost it here. And there's like this huge gap in the time of production. So and I'm really, really happy, Grant, you said that. Like they'll butcher it and then they come back to it every single time. So and this kind of circles back to my process. And now you guys can kind of be like, oh, that's why he does this. That's why the best way to start is for free. Because if you start for free, are you going to go homeless? No. Are you going to be worried about feeding your family or putting yourself through school or having clothes on your back or paying for your mortgage or paying for putting gas in your car? No. So if you can start for free, then it is going to be that much better. Now, why do I like starting for free? Well, how do we start for free? Let's go with that. You have SEO and then you have cold outreach. Cold outreach is never going to do well because if you reach out to somebody, then you have to almost always to entice them. You almost always have to like really give them a lot of freebies before they pay, or you have to do a free trial. So it's a little harder, but it's a nice way to kickstart things. It's also a really nice way to test your claim. Then you have social content. Social content, it's going to be hard to go viral. So what if I reached out to people and I pushed them to the page where the page converts them? That's why social is so powerful because you can start for free. You can test the claim. You can message people and it's not weird. It's the only place in the modern world where you are, besides speed dating, where you are enticed to communicate and reach out to people. It's the only place besides speed dating and maybe single nights, right? For people who are not looking for romance, it's the only place where you can go and you can talk to people. If I DM somebody, it's not weird. They might be like, why are you DMing me? but it's not weird. Like if I go up to some random person at Walmart and I'm like, hey, I'm so-and-so. What if I got you 10 leads? Like, who are you? Like, I'm trying to get like, I'm trying to get like 8 hot dogs and 12 buns or whatever horrible math they're doing over here. Like that's why social is king. And so why don't we start with SEO? Why don't I tell you guys, hey, build a website and build SEO? Because SEO, especially in marketing, you're looking at 8 to 12 months before you start ranking. And if anyone's watching the video and they're like, well, I'm an SEO king. Cool. Great for you. How long did it take you to get there? Social, I can start social right now and I can start DMing people and I can start making really low quality PAC and VSLs and status delta. I can make all this stuff really low quality, reach out to people and I'll be like, hey, tell me about your business. Or, hey, your business is really cool. I love what you're doing. Tell me about your business. How are you getting leads? Wow, you do it this way. Like, what are the pain point you're dealing with? What's something that you're stuck at? Okay, cool. Like I could help you with that. Here's what I recommend doing this, this, and this, and that. Don't worry, you don't have to pay me. I can make you a free marketing audit and let me know if that helps. Humans are, and then it plays the human psychology. Humans are lazy. So if I tell you, hey, I can do all this for you, or you can give it to someone else, just make sure they're doing A, B, C, D, E, they're going to assume, oh, he's already doing the things I need. Why wouldn't I just go with him? So everything that I'm teaching you guys in terms of starting with social, starting organically, starting for zero, right? It is the most effective way to start to where your entrepreneurial spirit will not be crushed. Because if you start with 8, I've done this before. I started a business and I was like, oh, we're going to dump 8K in it, 4 from me, 4 from the partner. Yeah, it went nowhere. We had 3 sales. It was awful. I'm like, what the heck did I do wrong? I didn't validate the claim. I looked at stats. I looked at numbers. I looked at analytics. I was like, oh, everything says yes. Guess who I didn't talk to? I didn't talk to the avatar. So we wasted a bunch of money on paid ads. We wasted a bunch of money on building a website, building a brand. So then I said, what's the opposite way of doing it? The opposite way is, you want to buy this? Put it in front of my face so you can see it. Or what would you give me money for? And then I talk to people who I know I like working with. I love working with service-based businesses. Why? Because the profit margins are sweet. You're looking at 80% once you have it up and running. The people are also making good money because if they're also in the service-based industry, then they're also pulling roughly 80% margins once you get it going. The ticket prices can be higher. Go look at e-com dropshipping, the price margins or the profit margins. You're looking at 10 to 20%. 10 to 20%. And if you have some that are like 60, 80%, you're usually looking at really cheap products that are outsourced. And then the 10 to 80%, or excuse me, the 70 to 80%, if you're looking at a really effective business, you're talking about like $10, $12, maybe $20. And then a competitor sniffs that out and they come in and now you got to start doing price wars. You can't price war on me. There's one Alec Roy. There's one Tim Miller. There's one Grant Fielding. There's one Tony Rossi. There's one of all of you. And that's why I love doing SWAS, because just like Dan Kennedy says, we inject who we are, we inject our personality. And right there, that's massive competitive advantage. Because just looking at my head right now, people will know I do or don't like him immediately. And those that do like me, great. I've already started you on the indoctrination phase of why my process works. So I know it's a lot of information, but I want to show you guys, because this is the cool part where now the training is coming out to where you're seeing like this all intertwines. That's why we start with the 7-step $0 client acquisition model. That's why we move into SASO. Once we've simplified and automated, guess what we do? We go into paid. Why? Because once you're making 3,000 to 5,000 in profit per month, I can now say, hey, it's time to spend 1,000 a month on ads. And now because I've made you 3 to 5K in profit, not including all your revenue, but we're just looking at profit because I want the business to be reinvested into the business. Now I can say, cool, don't pay yourself yet. Let's use some money and let's get you to 10 to 15 to 20K a month. And then let's start paying. And then you can pick, do I want to do this full time? Or do I want somebody else to do this while I work my job? Or do I want somebody else to do this while all I do is check in with them? And I have clients who do all three. I have a lawn care guy who has a very successful lawn care business. He still works he works actually a part-time job because he just loves the work. I have a guy who works on SEO and he works 1 to 2 hours a day. And he just likes the lifestyle. He's not a material guy. He's not like a, luxury type of guy. He just wants to hang out with his family. And I know people who they just do it full time. Hey, I want to do this full time. And I'm always looking to scale and expand into new business ventures. That's what's so cool about this process. And I could go on for hours and hours and hours about how you can test a creative before you pay for it. But that's why social right now is right now it is the king. Where people are messing up is that they are regurgitating the same offer and the same thing everyone else is saying. That's why step one is the most important training. I had somebody this past week. I'm not going to pull it up because they're an actual setter and that's how they make their money. I had somebody this week and I had somebody last week. Hey, what do you do? And you can just smell it when somebody's just coming in for like an offer, right? It's like the spidey senses, the hair on the back of the neck, women's intuition. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Something happens to where you can just smell it in the air. You're like, they're about to ask me. Let's see how it goes, right? And then they're like, "Oh, hey, what do you do?" And you're like, "I do this." I go, "Oh, okay. What if I came into your business and blah 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 blah?" Or, "Hey, this might be crazy, but what if I did it?" And it's this. It's like you can see that they just copied and pasted it. There's no personality to it, and it's the same message from several different companies. So how do you elevate? The easiest way is the antithetical claim. How can I do more and different, but also charge a price tag that matches that? So that's the big difference between reselling SaaS, whether it's with a focus or a niche, and then actually doing SWAS, where you're learning as you go, you're jumping on every opportunity. And then, and I don't mean to, put him on blast. I know he's a very down to earth guy, but I mean, Tim just closed what? Is it a little over 2K a month deal. Tim is a very intelligent individual. So I'm not saying this like we're all shocked, which I don't want that to be the impression. But the fact of the matter is he's going to come in, he's closing a 2K deal. And it's one of his first, is it your first or is it one of your first higher ticket deals, Tim?
This is the first high ticket deal in a while. I've done uh, some marketing in the past. I had a niche that I did a lot of credit repair for, and I charged anywhere from 1,200 to 1,750 a month. And, but it was very tough, just a tough niche.
Yeah.
And, but and the funny thing about this is the $1,000 offer. I went in there talking to this guy about ads and about how he needs to change everything for these ads to be profitable for him. And that's not what he wanted. He wanted this doc to be seen and noticed locally everywhere. And so I basically said, okay, I got what you want and here's the price.
Yeah. Sell the solution and then bridge the gap and then price according to the result. And and him and I actually spoke like I think it was a day before the call. And then I was like, keep me posted. And then he just comes in and he's like, landed. And I think before the call, we talked about pricing. I don't remember exactly what you
Yeah.
originally
So
said.
now the funny thing about that is when you said 22 grand, I mean, I literally had no idea what I would charge for this. And then what I'm doing for the guy is I'm doing just lots of social stuff, lots of video. I'm a video guy, so I'm really familiar with video. I'm recording lots of video and just creating a social profile for him across multiple platforms. But and then a blog. I'm also completely redoing his website. But
Perfect.
uh, but where was I going with that? So yeah, I mean, I really didn't know how to price that. I had some ideas. Um, and you suggested about 2K. Actually, what you said was nothing more than 2K, nothing less than 2K for something like that. And
Yeah.
I honestly, I didn't like that. And I just wanted to come up with the weird number. So I said 2115.
Perfect.
We talked about it. I told him everything that I would do. And then I just sat there and he was a business guy. So I said, it's 2150 or all that, by the way, a month. And I just waited and I watched him write it
That's
down on
perfect.
a pad. Yeah, the silence killed me, honestly.
And
Everything I wanted to
I
do.
told him, I
Yeah.
said, once you drop that price, I don't want
Yeah.
to blow 2K. I said, sit there, don't say a word. And he was like, okay, okay. And Tim was taking like vigorous notes on this call. And so it
Yeah.
was really cool because again, some of you may be thinking like, well, duh, what I have coached thousands of people. When I tell you maybe 1% have applied what I've told them, And every time they applied, it works. So when I say Tim took notes, he went in, he executed. And my favorite part was that he stuck to the price and he said the price and he zipped his lips. And I mean, like he said, it killed. Yeah. Tell us how you felt. And then I want to get,
Yeah, it
feedback.
was no, I mean, it was good. I've done that before where and that's I mean, I'm kind of an old guy and I've been in marketing for probably 6 years-ish, and so I understand sales a little bit. I'm not the greatest salesperson. The reason why I say that is because, I just don't have the amount of reps that I would like, in presentations. But, when I present it to the guy, who, is an owner, not an operator, he just wants, um he had his preconceived notions already of what he wanted for this one doctor, and w I gave him the price, and then I sat there, we talked about it for a while, and then I sat there and just waited, and he got a pen out and he started writing the number down on a pad, and he said, "Okay, that's good. So you're gonna give me, action items for what you're gonna do for this."
Perfect.
And that was it. The minute he leaned back and he said, "Okay, so here's what you're gonna do." I knew it was a
It
signed
was
deal.
sealed. It was sealed.
Yeah.
And and I told another individual this. Let's say the guy said that's not in my budget, right? Whether he's being honest or not. If they say it's not in their budget, like, well, that's not too much, but if they're like, we really don't have the budget for that. The way that I would recommend to proceed would be, what's the budget? And then just like Tim said, if there's action items for that price, you can say, cool. I'm number one, I'm not lowering my price for what I'm offering. What I can do is I can give this up and that has this much of a price tag. So think about it. If you're in the grocery store and you have a bunch of shopping carts, right? And you go up and you realize you got 20 bucks, you got 30 bucks, $30 worth of things. You're not going to talk to the cashier and be like, I'll haggle with you. No, you got to pick, what am I putting back on the shelf to meet the budget, right? That's how I want you to look at it. You have your shopping cart, except for you're telling them, hey, you have to pay. This is what's in the shopping cart, right? Or maybe you're the cashier and they're putting things on the I don't know what you call it, the treadmill or what, I don't know what you call it, the thing, right? And they're coming in and you're like, hey, it's $30. And they're like, I have 20, right? It's 2K. I've got 15. Cool. What do you want to put back to get to that budget? But I'm not just negotiating the price. And does anybody know what you say if they say, why is it that price? This is what you say. It's that price because it's that price. I've been doing this long. I know what goes into it. I have the knowledge to make sure that we get this done on time. I have the experience to make sure we do it the right way the first time. That's why the price is the price. Do not go down the list of items. You can negotiate that part. Well, hey, I could give you this and we could cut here. Yes, you can do that. But when it comes to, it's that price because it's that price. And I've seen people and that's not from me. I didn't come up with that. I've seen several business coaches who say that. And I see a lot of comments on videos when people say that and they're like, I would never work with somebody who says it's that price because it's that price and they don't break it down. Cool. See you. You know how many, like, if at any point you think I need this sale, I want you to number one, smack yourself in the face. Number two, open a tab in Google and search how many in my industry are there businesses. How many plumbers are there? How many plumbing businesses are there? How many HVAC businesses are there? How many lawyers are there? How many dentists are there? So if you think you're getting hung up on one person, it's almost like, what is it? Like the fish in the sea. What's the expression with dating? It's like, oh, there's thousands of fish in the sea. There are thousands and thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of businesses within your industry. So if this guy's like, I don't work with business like that. You do it my way or you don't do it at all. I guess we're not doing it at all. I can find someone cheaper. Great. I have even a list of people who do it for cheaper. I would love to send you to them because they're going to be happy I sent them somebody who's looking for what they do. I want you to do it their way. I do it my way. That's why I have the results I have. You want me to do it a brand new way and we risk not getting the results we have? I'm not going to risk that because that hurts my reputation and it's going to waste your time and my time. And so if you have those clients, number one, remember they're waving their own red flags. Number two, there's millions and millions. Think about this, right? How many of you knew me a year ago? Right? I don't think any of us knew each other a year ago. right? There's so many people on this earth. Don't ever get hung up on the pricing if they start trying to stiff arm you or strong arm you. Don't be a jerk about it, but the price is the price. I can work within your budget, but that means we have to change some things and modify the scope. Maybe we go from a done for you to a done with you and you get everything, and I walk you through it, but you only give me for 2 hours a week. Maybe it's a done for you. And now we just take away this or that. Hey, your budget is really low. Hey, I've got a done with you package or a do it yourself package. And it teaches you how to do the whole thing yourself. And so you see now why we have that comprehensive marketing approach, DIY, DWI, DFY. So now whatever their budget is, cool. This program might be better for you, but I want that program. Well, that program has a price tag. Yeah. Rebecca or team Rebecca, I should say.
Yeah,
Okay.
King Rebecca. First, I want to hold on.
I want
I want to tell Tim thank you for everything he done to help us. So really, really, really appreciate that. Good, and I'm glad good to see you doing well because now it makes sense. So appreciate you. Anyway, Rebecca I think she
So-
had a question.
my question, and I'm sorry, I've taken in a lot of information in the last few days, but
Me too.
I can't remember if you told me or not. About how much time are you spending a month for that price for the chiropractor, Tim?
I have absolutely no idea.
Do you
So,
do you have a guess like of
so
how?
here's my plan, and honestly, I honestly haven't worked it out enough, but I've done enough of this stuff, so I have an idea as to how much work it'll take. But I think what's going to happen is I'm going to work on a lot of the stuff myself in the beginning, like for the first couple of weeks. I'm starting my first recording with him on Thursday. Um, but I'm going to do a lot of that stuff myself. So it's going to be pretty heavy. I'm probably going to be spending it maybe 20 hours a week just on him. But after I get over that hump, I am definitely going to figure out, just like Alec was talking about, I'm going to document things to see how long it's taking me to do these processes, even though some of the platforms that I use, the applications that I use are going to be clunky because I'm running them for the first time. But I'm going to document that because I want to make sure that I have some kind of SOP that I can literally just give to a VA and say, look, do this. Knowing that even when I give it to him, it's still going to be clunky in the beginning, but that person is going to get over the hump as well. So that's my
Right.
plan, at least.
So you kind of see it like it's a lot of work up front, obviously. I mean, it's gonna be probably with most new
Mhm.
clients. But then like it
Yeah,
would
but
take within a few months or within after the first month.
yeah, I think after the first month, I'll have a pretty good idea. I mean, because the process is repetitive, and the client knows it's repetitive. The client's pretty smart, and this is what I learned about video in general, because video is going to be um, the uh, uh, um, the engine where we're going to get all of our content from, with everything, for blogs and everything. The cool part is about video. Anytime you are interviewing somebody, they are a subject matter expert. They know their craft inside and out, and their biggest problem is getting over the fear of being presented on video. And so, once you get past that, it's awesome. Usually I'll end up asking somebody a couple of times to get what I want.
Yeah.
But, besides that, I think after I do it the first couple of times and use the software for a couple of times, using a software called video.ai.
Mhm.
It's cool. It's a little clunky. I've used it before with podcasting. Basically, I take a whole 30-minute deal and I clip out pieces, and it captions everything and clips it out, and I have to go correct it all and export it. And then I'll upload it accordingly. But I guess to answer your question, I really don't know yet. But yeah, about a month.
So, but let me hop in real quick because number one, this was everything that Tim and I spoke about on our call before he went and closed it. So again, props to Tim because he took it and he ran with it, and it obviously he did it in a way where he's closing and where he's fully grasping like the SASO process. Like he's gonna do it once, he's gonna document it as he goes. He could do it 1,000 times because I've done it 1,000 times, and there's still things that will change. at the bare minimum, technology will evolve and you won't need certain things. Like for me, I have a $50 microphone. I have a $130 webcam. I have $1,000 PC or Mac, not even 1,000. I think it was like 700. I'm running an entire business off that and my iPhone. That's way wildly different than how it was, you know, 10 years ago. That's wildly different than how it was 15 years ago. And now with AI, I'm able to do it way faster. So at the bare minimum, as technology evolves, bare minimum, you're going to have to change your SOPs. And you're going to have to figure out, how do we simplify this? How do we make this more efficient? How do we document this and hand this off to VAs? How do we do the SASO process? So just want to say that what Tim said was really well explained. And this might apply to Team Rebecca as well. If you have these blue collar guys, they hate social media 9 out of 10 times.
Yeah, maybe.
Hate it. But guess what everybody loves talking about more than anything in the world? Their passion. That's what, if you are the type of person who, I mean, it doesn't matter what you do. I mean, there's, hopefully I'm not getting any hate in this group for it, but there's grown people who love My Little Pony. They have My Little Pony conventions. Again, I'm not talking down upon them. That we'll do that off camera. But the point is, it doesn't matter like what the interest is. You get people of a certain interest, they're gonna love to talk about it. The same goes for HVAC, plumbing, chiropractors, because they all have their own way of doing it. The United States, go look back at the outbound marketing challenge I created. The United States is a very opinionated country. That's why in the marketing outbound challenge, we play off of that. Hey, could I get your opinion on something? We play off that because we know people love sharing their opinion. And especially when you have strong-willed individuals like the HVAC community, like medical professionals who are known, both industries are known to be very stubborn, yet very knowledgeable. So you have those individuals, right? And they're usually stuck in their ways. And you say, hey, imagine this. I don't want you to film TikTok. I don't want you to film social media. I want you to hop on a 1-hour interview with me. I'm going to ask you questions. All you have to do is have a camera, a microphone, and answer those questions with the experience you have. Because if I ask an HVAC professional, I know nothing about HVAC. I actually saw a social media post on this. If I ask them, hey, tankless water heater or a water heater in a tank, or I don't even know what question to ask, right? So that's why you got to know your industry. But if I say, hey, this or that, they're going to say, well, tankless for this. And you do want a tank when it's this, right? Electrical or gas, or I barely know anything about HVAC. But the point is, if I start asking them questions on their industry and they just start telling me what's going on, right? If you can even say this, hey, you're an HVAC guy. What's the craziest thing you've seen in an air duct? I guarantee they're going to have a story. And so all they're doing is now they're not talking to social media. They're not talking to a camera. The webcam is on just like mine is on right now. I'm not looking at it. I'm looking at the square that I'm talking to. And I'm going to say, I'm just talking. And then what am I going to do? I'm going to do that with this interview. Listen, I'm going to do that with this interview or this group call. I'm going to take the clip, the content. Notice how my camera quality is much better today than it was last week. I'm going to take it. I'm going to post-produce it into content. And so now this, which will end up being a 2-hour call, most likely, this 2-hour call becomes 120 short form reels. It becomes 4 in-depth blogs. It becomes 200 snippets of tweets. It becomes a full length audio podcast. And let's say I have 0 good quality in this group call. Bare minimum, I can pull 30 of each from everything. And one, at the bare minimum, I can post this on YouTube. And what's crazy is these group calls, I just post them on YouTube and then I share the link on my page. And I'm getting subscribers every day. And it's growing slowly, but it compounds. And so what happens? You take the content that you record, and there's more that goes in depth to it. You can look at the keywords, you can look at the SEO, you can ask questions that people are looking for. How do I do that? I type in a question somebody would ask about a plumber or an HVAC. I look at the little drop down buttons like the FAQ looking thing on Google search, and those all become questions that I'm asking the individual. I ask, he or she answers, and then what do? I clip that goes in their social media, and I cut out the part of my question. And now I have content for them. And guess how much time that takes out of their day? It takes the interview. It takes 1 hour a week. It takes 30 minutes a week. It takes 2 hours a week. Oh, snap. What does that sound like? That sounds like exactly what I'm doing with SASO University. And I'm charging way less than I'm telling you to turn around and charge. I'm charging way less than I know most of you are charging. I don't think anyone is charging $50 a month. I think you guys are all starting at the minimum 97, but most of you are sitting at the 297 to 497 range. So that's where the value comes in that social media creation for them. And then what do? Well, you have a clip that does somewhat well. It's not going to go viral, but it might go viral within the niche or viral on the page. Guess what that becomes? That becomes paid content. And why is that paid content going to work? Because, and look at any ad that does this well. If you see an ad that tricks you and you don't realize it's an ad, go to the comments. The comments will always say the same thing. I didn't even know this was an ad. Or it'll say something like the best ads are the ones you don't even realize. You know what the worst ad is? The worst ad is when you force somebody to go make an ad and they film the content like this. Hey, are you struggling with this or that? You need Rudolph's home repair. The minute I hear a video start with a question, scroll. I'm out. That's just how it goes. That's how who is sitting here and watching ads for any purpose other than funnel hacking? If you are, we may need to check you into a mental hospital. You may have some problems, but most of you are just, the minute you see it's an ad, you're swiping. But if it was an organic content that already converted naturally, and now it's catching your eye and you're watching it, and then out of nowhere, you see the ad button rise up and it got you, guess what? That's somebody you might consider working with because that ad was good. And you were able to watch enough of the ad to where now, guess what happens with the ad? It's going to go, again, people don't know this. You can have ads that go somewhat viral or completely viral. What does that mean? If people are watching the ad, the algorithm will start sharing it for cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. So now what happens? Your cost per 1,000 impressions drop, your cost per leads drop, your client acquisition costs drop, your ROI soars, your ROAS soars, and your hook rate is powerful. Why? Because you started with a simple, stupid interview, just asking questions. And what does that boil down to? The entire theme of this group goal, just communicate, right? I'm not going up to, if you were at a bar or let's say you had an event, you're not going up to someone being like, what's your business? I could help you. No. Hey, what do you do? Oh, hey, nice to meet you. What brings you here? Oh, where are you from? Oh, how's the weather there? What do you do for a living? Oh, that's cool. I do this for a living. And you start asking them questions. It's the same way the interview goes that you then post produce. And so they feel super comfortable. There's the awkwardness is completely disarmed. And here's what I'll say, Tim, the very method that I was sharing with you, and I'm kind of explaining now, but the very method that I was sharing with you early this year, see you, Tony. Early this year, I did the same thing where I did group interviews. I coached, I filmed the whole thing. I sent everybody their clips. And then at the end of the group interview, I'd be like, oh, same thing with the marketing audit. Oh, here's what I would do if I were running your business. I would do this, 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 and this. And if you want, we could work together. I could do it for you, or you could take the video. I'm going to send it to you anyway and run with it. And I closed a 5K package off that because they got their clips. So I enticed them to hop on a call, send them the clips. They love it. Maybe they take it and they run away. Cool. Guess what? You just mentioned, well, there's going to be some clunkiness to it. I got to go through my clunkiness phase, and guess what? I had no deadline because you're not going to sit here and have a free 30 clips sent to you and tell me I need it by Wednesday. You're not paying me. What are you talking about? You'll get it when you get it. So I was able to kind of test that and do it for free. No deadline, no pressure. And then when I closed somebody, I said, cool, we're going to build this out, the funnel, the email, the social, the organic, blah, blah, blah. Then we'll build some interviews. And guess what? I already had 20, it was 18 episodes that I had filmed already. Now I didn't know what I was doing. So I didn't, I could have done it way better, but guess what? Now when I do it, the quality is impeccable. The impression, the impact, it's impeccable. So yeah, I'm super excited to see what comes out of that, Tim. So we're a little over time. I have no problem staying a little bit longer and seeing if you guys have any other questions that you guys want to jump into. So the clips were actually given to the business owners and then they were able to post them. So I don't have the clips. What you will see is that I will start post-producing these calls. So the next call, it could be a total doo-doo storm, but the next call I'm going to be recording with a software called StreamYard. And then you'll be able to ask your questions. When you ask a question, I will actually be able to make the question appear on the screen. And then from there, I'm going to be able to post produce it. So there won't be as much back and forth, but the idea is that the quality will be much better. I'll be able to post produce it. And then you guys will be able to ask as many questions as you want in the comments, and I'll be able to post them. Also, the reason I'm moving to StreamYard, and again, I'm going to try it out. There's a bunch of software I want to try out. That's the main one that looks really cool to me. The reason I'm doing that is because I'll be able to host it on Facebook. So I'm going to host it in the Facebook group. So that way I can actually put reminders. Maybe more people will be able to attend if there's more reminders. If it's just embedded in Facebook and maybe they're scrolling like, oh yeah, there's a call, they can hop on it. And then what I'm going to do is once a month, the group call will be available to everybody on my page. So that's going to be another way I'm going to put people to the page. Hey, once a month, there's a group call. They can all join, but I'm only going to answer questions from the actual community. Yeah, it'll be live like how this is live. And then it'll also be a Facebook Live. So StreamYard actually can stream. There's several platforms that do this, Riverside, StreamYard. They can actually stream to different platforms. So I could technically stream to YouTube, Facebook. I think there's and maybe TikTok. I think you can stream to like multiple different platforms, all from the one main one. So make it easier for you guys. My camera quality will be really nice. I can add intros. So I can be like, oh, cool, we'll get started, blah, blah. I can click a button. It just plays an intro for me. It's going to be super corny, super cheesy, and I'm super excited about it. But the idea is like, you could do the same thing. So if you're doing, if you're reselling SaaS and you're doing it within a focus or a niche, you could have a group call once a week. And you could be like, hey, we're going to answer any questions. We're going to give you tips. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. You have a HVAC group, right? Hey, once a week, we have a call and we're going to be coaching you guys. And this is a group call. But if you want one-on-one coaching, our rates start at $300 an hour, $500 an hour. If you want us to work with us, here are our rates. And you can sign off every call with the call to action. You could start it and end it with the call to action and then just provide pure value in there and don't talk about the offer, but talk about what's in the offer. So notice this video, you guys know what I mean when I say step 1 training is creating the antithetical offer. You know what I mean when I say step 3 is creating and curating the social. You know what I mean when I say the best vertical SaaS offer training. The viewers that are seeing this on Facebook and on YouTube, and they're not a member of the group, guess what they have to do? They have to be like, what if I hop in and see the training? What if I want the one-on-one training and I want to actually pay for it? And then it entices people. Now I still have to provide the value, right? I've had people who pay for the coaching. I have to provide the value to where when they get out of the coaching, they go, I paid him that, but I made 20x off the investment. I made 10x off the investment. I have much more mental clarity off the investment. I actually have a path for the investment. So it's really about the streaming. Again, I'm super excited. Anytime you go live, there's a massive risk. Google Meet is just so easy to do. But as you can see, I went from the Mac camera, which was 720. I got this new Logitech webcam, which is nuts. You have no idea what my room looks like. The lighting in here is awful. And look how good it looks on the screen. I know I look awful, but the quality is amazing. So it's a lot of fun to play with. And I'm just going to be proving that. Yeah, Team Rebecca.
Yeah, that's kind of, we were just talking, what if you go live? I mean, we have 100.
We love this idea,
Yeah.
but you've seen my group that I got one post where people are talking and it's 2 people and me.
Yeah, that's our biggest fear is we put a live out and it's, we're sitting there just talking.
What?
It becomes a monologue,
you
not
do?
so much a live, and that's,
So, I'm glad you guys asked because I
Just
want
that.
to.
get them talking or getting them wanting to join something.
Yeah.
like
Yeah. So I'm actually glad you mentioned this because the reason I wanted to do the longer call was so I could address group engagement specifically for your HVAC group, but this can be applied to any group, right? So I want to cover, because I love that you guys have built the group, and with all love, I've noticed that you're struggling to get engagement in the group.
Yeah.
correct.
Now
Cool.
they
So-
all talk to us in DMs and they'll talk to us on the phone for hours to where we have to cut them off.
Yeah.
And, we have good conversations, but
And I feel
in
like-
the group getting them to anything.
And maybe we're just not
it's
hitting
just
with the
never
right
happened.
content too. I mean, maybe that's part of it too. Maybe we've got to
Not
get,
working.
I mean, it's, like you said, you got to keep trying, pivoting.
Yeah.
And it's the little horse is called a knight. I didn't want to put
Thank you. I was like, was it night or is
I am no poker player, but I do. That's like one of the 3 things that I know about.
okay? I didn't know if it was knight or bishop, and I was like, I don't think it's bishop, but let me not say knight
Yeah.
if bishop.
No.
Okay, good. Thank you. Yeah, I knew
Thank
it
you.
wasn't horse. At least I knew that. At least I knew it wasn't horse.
Yeah, you had the move right, but
I had the shape right. Yeah.
that's our concern, is because we've had
Yeah.
such little engagement from some of the content that we went, now this will get them talking.
I've
And
been
then, you get,
racking my brain
you
for
crickets, so-
ideas for content and studying people that have great content even. And Yeah, it's just not sticking. The best
So let,
thing video that I hated every second of doing.
so let me ask you this. Is it free group to join or do they pay to join?
What's a free group?
It's
Okay, so the calls, if they're not paying you, have to stop.
well,
Well,
it's like
I
discovery
think we're talking
calls.
about
They're
we're talking about the discovery calls. Well,
Is it
the,
if it's a sales call, that's very different.
yeah.
yeah,
But
yeah.
but
The point is that, we get to that point, and then if something doesn't happen and they're still in the group, it's just little engagement on our page.
yeah, you got to cut it out.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds backwards, and I know it's like, what the heck? This is why they will milk those calls. And I did this with my first couple of clients where I was like, get on these calls, maybe 2-3 hour calls, and I'm like, maybe it'll go somewhere. It won't. They're friend zoning you. This is how you get out of that. And I do this all the time. And I do this with some people in the group. So the group might be watching this, maybe like, oh, he's done that to me. I do this all the time. I have the group calls for a set time, and I always go over my set time to provide to over was under promise, over deliver, right? So I go 90 to 20 minutes or 90 to what is it? It's hour and a half to 2 hours.
Wait, is what it is, and that's okay.
Right. Right. I go an hour and a half to 2 hours. We have a baby, so like the sleep is non-existent, but hour and a half to 2 hours. And then they can DM me as much as they want. If they go, I want to hop on a call, this is what I do. Heads up, I can help you as much as you want through the DMs. Because when I'm on the DMs, and I tell people this, when I'm DMing, I can have 20 to 30 conversations at a time. The minute I get on a call, all of my attention is on you.
Yeah.
So I don't do calls unless they're paid coaching calls or unless they're ready to talk about possibly signing up. When we talk about possibly signing up, they don't ask me questions on advice. It goes through the framework. Where are you? Where do you want to be? Why aren't you there? This is the prescription I would do. The prescription is a 5-minute prescription. If you remember the step 5 training, the ultimate closing framework, it's a 5-minute prescription because they will take that prescription and they will run with it. And if anybody was in corporate America, you'll remember this. There's a big surge where these people would say, send us your proposal and we'll talk about hiring you. And they would take the proposal and they would just do it. And they'd be like, see ya, we don't need you because we just got your proposal for what you would do. They would take the whole proposal, give it to their team and be like, hey team, go do this for this great idea. And the people would just give these free proposals away. That's why people don't do proposals anymore, because they would just give away all their secrets and someone would take it and then be like, cool, we don't need you. It was a massive issue in corporate America.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of what's happening on some of our previous calls is, we've said, hey, you need to do this. These are things you
Absolutely,
can
it
do
is,
these
'cause
things.
we're
And this guy's
seeing
taking
them do
notes
it.
and he's like, sweet. Okay. Well, I got everything I can get out of this. All right. Well, and now we're ghosted a little bit. So,
Yeah.
I think that's an awesome point. I never really looked at it like that. I mean, we looked at it like we would rush to the phone call because that's really where we're going to seal the deal,
Yeah.
and I think what we maybe need to do is put a little bit more time into the DMs.
No more calls.
No more calls. Yeah. And to actually get the information through the DMs a little bit more as
Yep.
far.
No more calls. And then you can let them know. You can let them know this. I do this all the time with people who are not in SASO University. I've had people who join SASO University because of this. If I help them, I'll help them 3 times. Okay. 3 times. And then, and I'll talk about the group posts because that's going to help tie this together. But let's assume you have the group post nailed down. I'll help them 3 times. After that, here's what I tell them. I've helped you as much as I can help you for free. If you want to join the paid community, I can help you there, but for free, this is as much as I can help you because I have people who are paying me and I need to make sure that I'm keeping them happy so I can keep money coming in. And that's like, I can't get more direct than that. And I'm not being an asshole, but I can't get more direct than that, right? I have to spend my time on the people who are giving me money to make sure that I'm really providing what I told them I would provide. So I would love to help you. However, I'm only helping, I can help you. I don't tell them up front, like, hey, I'm a genie, you get 3 wishes. No, they will come back. They will, if you give them good, actionable advice, they will come back. It's not a if, it's a when. At least for most people, they will come back. And sometimes I'll help them push them to the page. And then the next thing I know, hey, you have a new client and you have a new subscription created in Stripe and they've joined SASO University. Cool. Welcome aboard. Here's all the documentation. Now you can blow my phone up. And I tell people all the time, melt my phone, get what you paid for, make this a win-win, but I want you to win more than I win because then you'll stay forever.
Sure, but don't they do it?
But they
Yes.
do.
I know what we do to you, so I can't imagine.
They do. But here's the thing. the SASO University is my DIY package, right? My DIY package, I'm able to refine my offer. I'm able to check this out. Tim, who do you work with? Like, what's the client you're working with right now? What field are they in?
Uh, Gyro.
Cool. Team Rebecca, who do you work with?
HVAC,
And plumbing.
plumbing.
And plumbing. Naman, who do you guys work with? I don't know if he has his mic on, but I know he works with realtors, right? He's doing realty. Grant, who are you working with? What's your industry?
Blue collar services.
Yeah. And I know who Kevin's working with. Kevin has he's actually working with a really super unique niche right now, which is chimney sweepers.
Oh, wow.
Do you think I would be able to work with all these people had I not had this group? I'm able to work indirectly through you with all these different communities. So by doing that, I'm able to gain all this experience and I'm able to see, cool, this worked for Grant. I wonder if it works for Team Rebecca. And I know Team Rebecca is polar opposite from Tim, but I wonder if we could apply something similar here with maybe the interview style media. And then I know Naman's working directly with realtors doing the paid stuff. There's got to be some correlation. And from there, now when I talk to a client, a high ticket client, and they're like, oh, I do this, I can either go, cool, I know somebody who does that. I'd love to pass you along. And then my team is happy or the group is happy. Or I go, hey, I've actually had group calls and interviews with these individuals. Now I know enough about the industry to close this person who's at a very, very high level. And I can apply my knowledge with the avatar language and go back and look at the how we craft a marketing plan. I'm looking at it through the lens of the industry. Now I have enough lens of an industry to where when I want to close a really high ticket client, I know just enough to close them. And so am I losing money on this? Yeah, I am. But the knowledge and experience I'm gaining is indirectly making me way more money. And for SASO University, I've never hidden, what I'm making on the group. SASO University covers all of my fees. So every time I land a high ticket client, guess what my profit margin is on them? 100%. And so not only that, I get to connect with really cool people. I get to connect with people who actually want to have advice, not just, my dad coined this term that I haven't heard anyone else say it. He calls them ask holes, where all they do is ask, 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 and there's never a conversion. Another term is friend zoning, where they just friend zone. But the ask hole is one of my favorite because, yeah, right. Yeah, that's another one I do. But the ask hole is one of my favorite because as a coach, you have people who are like, I'm struggling with this, and what do I do? And they ask advice that they're never going to apply. And so it's really interesting. Again, I always loved that. My dad came up with that, at least from what I know. I haven't heard anyone else say it, but I've always loved that because it's just so accurate. So how do you get rid of the friend zone? You do what I just told you. So I'm going to tell you the group content to post as well. In the DMs, you can, hey, I'll help you out, but the group is why we do this. The group is where I post the stuff. And if they DM you, hey, you can post in the group and I can help you there. But in the DMs, and the reason I do the group is because if you ask that question, other people may ask that question, and there's probably 50 people asking that question at once. So if you ask it in the group, then it's going to help everybody. And then here's what happens. 2 weeks later, if somebody says, hey, I have a question, and it's a question you answered 2 weeks ago, you can go, oh yeah, check out the post from 2 weeks ago. Look for this keyword in the group and you'll find it. Boom, you just saved yourself a whole conversation. Hey, we're going to do a group call once a week. All we're going to do is talk about how you can grow your business. And guess what you're going to do? You're going to talk about everything I've taught you, the $0 client acquisition model. You're going to talk about SASOing their business. You're going to talk about the different ways of marketing. You're going to talk about how they can build their own antithetical claim. You're going to talk about all the stuff that I'm telling you to do. As long as you're not passing off as your own. I mean, again, like if I talk about gravity, I'm not going to be like, yeah, I'm the guy who made it. No, I'm just referencing it. So you can be like, oh yeah, there's this process called this, there's this thing called that. And then, here's how you apply it. And guess what they're going to do? They're going to ask questions, and the questions they ask you, guess what that's going to be? That's going to be exactly the content you make in the group. And how do you make that content in the group? You record your calls. Let me know when this starts sounding familiar. You record your group calls. You post that on YouTube. You pin yourself as the main face, either on Google Meet. I'm doing StreamYard. As soon as I know how to do that, I will turn around and show you guys how to do it. It's very easy. But again, like I said in the beginning of the call, I have to understand it at like a really stupid level. And then I become a master in it, but I always start on a very low level. And then from there, you're going to post produce that content into posts. And guess how long that takes you? You throw into video AI, it's going to be a pain in the butt to learn. But once you learn it once, it's so easy. You learn it once, you give it templates, you throw a video in there, it post-produces the content for you. Now you have a reel a day to post. And then what are you going to do? You're going to take the transcript from that reel, you're going to throw it into Claude.ai or ChatGPT, and you're going to say, format this into a tweet, format this into a Facebook post. I love Claude.ai because it's just so much more professional versus ChatGPT. So it's Claude, CLAUDE.ai. It's phenomenal. You throw it in there, you say, hey, make this a tweet, make this a caption, make this a Facebook post. And then you put that on the social media scheduler in High Level, or you just post it once a day.
I really like that. Like I said, we've got 100, almost 150 people in the group and we've probably 90% we've had some sort of communication with, but
Yeah.
maybe that's just something that I can do too, where I could just come on this, hey, we've got some questions from the group. And if one person asked, then I'm sure the other people are. So here's some questions we had this week. Even if I do like a couple of minutes.
I love that. I didn't even think of that. See, look, that's an idea that now you have shared, other people can use. So people are DMing you these questions. You can make a post. Hey, here are the top 5 questions I had this past week.
And don't get it. I'm not talking about getting into, people were asking about websites. We do that for $297, not that kind of thing.
No.
We're talking about this. Definitely something we can help. That's something you're going to want for your business, those kind of things. So
Yeah.
that's
Why
what we got
why
to
it's
get more.
important, what to do, but not the how.
Right. Exactly. So
And
that's all. Thank you. That's a good,
I
that
think
makes me
that's
feel
where,
better.
I think that's really where
we
I'm
have the
screwing
people
up
and
on
we
my
have,
calls, honestly. I really do. I think I'm giving out way too much.
Yeah. You're friend
Well,
zone yourself.
yeah. And then, like I said, the one guy that we had that actually backed out, we realize now that, not getting a contract signed and some of the things that we did wrong in the beginning.
Yeah.
But I think that was the downfall of where he went off, is because we told him all the things we were going to do. And he went, whoa, that's a lot. And I don't know if I'm ready for this. I think we gave him the keys to the castle, kind of told him, what we were really going to do. And this was a person that we kind of knew going in that he just was looking to not maybe scale, but just kind of creep up, and we kind of hit him with too much because we are passionate about it. And I think we just kind of, let that carry through. So yeah, this is great stuff. I mean, I think one of the things I'm getting from it is, we need to, when you give a handshake and somebody squeezes your hand, you don't just go ham on them. And that's what we're kind of doing. We're not actually giving the proper pressure back that we're getting from them. So,
And so there's two things I want to say on that, because I love the way that you're uncovering it. And the second thing is actually mentioning a point you made earlier. So the first thing, when you are doing the close, and this is something that I love about certain people. I think you two are the people that are going to fall within this category. But this is the same for most people. The thing that they're really good at sometimes becomes an undoing.
yeah.
So for you two are super, super passionate. I love that. That keeps you really motivated. That keeps you motivated enough. Here comes undoing to hop on these calls and not get paid for. And then you're wondering, why isn't anybody paying us? So here's how you fix that. When you do the acknowledge the gap, when you go back and look at the step 5 training, pay a close attention to how I explain bridging the gap. Here's how it happens. You're going to do it in fewer words than you should. And this is why. They're going to, if they care, or if they're interested, because there's 4 different types of clients. There's 4 different types of prospects. One of the types is going to want to know everything about everything. One of the types is going to want to just know the price and move on. One of the types is going to want to know very specific things about very specific things. And the other type doesn't really care about any of it. And so you're going to address that 4th type. Why? Because it's like if you have a question, it's really hard to listen to someone when you have a question because you don't want to lose your question. But then you end up asking a question that they just explained and you look really silly. So when they have a question, they're not going to listen to a thing you're saying. It's human behavior. It's human psychology. It's like if I don't know if the two of you have kids, it's not my business, but it's like a little kid. Like if they have a question and you're like, listen, don't do this. And they go, okay, but what do I do that? They were thinking about the question you're explaining. So the way you do it is you go like this. And this is a really watered down version. I would say roughly 3 to 5 minutes, but it goes like this. We're going to start organic so people can find you and it costs you nothing. As we start seeing return on investment, we're going into paid directory listings so we can boost your organic presence. Then we're going to go into paid listings so we can start hunting people who want this. And we're going to start telling them we are the best solution. And the reason we do it in that order is because it's the most cost efficient for you. It's very time efficient for us. And we only invest in the business what we make in the business. So you're not losing any money. You're actually only making money. And we're only going to tell you to spend money once we've made you the money that you need to spend. And then they're going to go either cool or walk me through this, walk me through that. I'm stuck on this. I'm stuck on that. And then they're going to tell you, hey, this is where I want you to go in depth. So now you can save your breath and you can answer that one question.
That's beautiful.
And then when you're doing that, you're saving time. And instead of a 60-minute pitch, you just went to a 3-minute pitch. And sometimes the 3-minute pitch closes. Sometimes the 60-minute pitch scares them all. So for you two, I would say have that gap be really short, broad strokes, let them ask and then hop into it. Now, you mentioned before, what if I do this group coaching call and nobody shows up? Tim, how many people were on the call at 7:04?
Nobody.
It was me and Tim. And I told Tim, it's just the two of us. So guess what? If nobody else shows up, you get a free coaching session. And then more people showed up, and then Grant asked a question, and we went into Grant's questions, and then Tim offered feedback, and then Team Rebecca had a question for Tim, and then we transitioned into helping out Team Rebecca.
So is there a way to kind of set that up? Like where, okay, I mean, I know that if we were to put out like, okay, we're going to have a group call, nobody shows. But if we were to put out like, I don't know, like not even just a teaser, but maybe some leading questions, like
Well,
we're going to be answering this.
Wait, watch this. I'll answer your question right now. Watch this. What do I do every week before my group call?
Put out a post.
I put out a post, and the post has a poll. And
Yeah.
remember the theme of the call? Communication. Candorous communication. Hey guys,
Okay.
I want to do a coaching call and help you out. When do you guys want to do it?
Yeah.
Vote. And then we had people vote. They didn't show up. But guess what? I'm going to be here for the next. And this is what I thought to myself before even Tim hopped on the call. I'm going to be here until somebody hops on the call. When someone hops on the call, I'll start recording. Either way, I've blocked out 2 hours of my time for this, and maybe they'll show up. Maybe they don't show up. And if they don't show up for 2 calls in a row, guess what I'm going to do on my third call? On my third call, I'm going to do my VSL live, and I'm just going to go through it. And then if they hop on, hey, you have any questions about this? Or maybe I do an interview where Team Rebecca interviews each other, and then we post that up. And we say, hey, well, here's how our first coaching call went. But there's going to be people, even if there's one person that shows up, it's going to be beneficial. And the coaching call, it's going to be free. And then you can upsell to one-on-one coaching calls.
And it's also content that we can actually post on there too, as far as
Bingo. If one shows up,
yeah,
we had 5 to 6 people. We have 50 people in the group. I can still post-produce this content because, why can I post-produce this content? The same reason why when we talk to our leads and prospects, we do the ultimate downsell. Why? Because if you are in the industry I'm targeting and you ask a question, if Team Rebecca asks a question, if Tim asks a question, if Namad asks a question, if Kevin asks a question, if Grant asks a question, only 10% of our group showed up. If any one of them asks a question, I guarantee you somebody else within the group, let alone somebody else within the world, will have that same question and my content will resonate with them. You are telling me what content to post. And that's why when I met with Tim and he was mentioning the social media, we said, hey, do the interview style, post-produce it, because he mentioned they don't really like being on camera. Cool. You know what the easiest way to be on camera is? Ignore the camera. Talk to me. No scripts, all ad libs, all raw content. That's the appeal of podcasts right now. You're just going to see massively post-produced clips of content. And let me tell you something. Once this methodology becomes fully saturated, there's going to be a new way to have to do it. But right now is very, very young. So grab it. And it's like crypto was very young. The people who grabbed it made money. The people who are trying to push it now, it's awkward. The people who are trying to push newspaper print ads now, it's awkward. It's like, so you've got to use the trend while it comes in. And that boils down to what we mentioned with Grant, where you have these trends that change. And that's where your SOPs are going to change at the bare minimum when technology advances. But at the end of the day, just like Grant said so well, there's only so many ways to generate traffic. Inbound, outbound, paid, organic. That's it. It's like a four tile or a massive Venn diagram, right? It's just overlapping features. So the thing that I think scares a lot of people away when it comes to my coaching, and I have to like sometimes retrain people or help them rewire their brain, is this: business is not complicated. The technical stuff is technical. So if you're not a technical person, have a VA do it. You can't afford a VA? Cool. Your setup fee needs to be minimum $250, and then you turn around and you pay a VA. Even if you paid them the whole 250, cool. It's set up, set it and forget it, and then you have extending on the back end and they run it for you. If you're a technical person and you hate sales, great. You can do the setup. And then for the marketing stuff, what are you going to do? You're going to do, you can interview yourself. You can find 5 topics on using SEO tools, like, or just go on Google. And from there, you just interview yourself and you post produce the content.
Is that the average price for a VA? We have really no
No
idea
clue.
what that cost is.
Depends on what you're doing. But I mean, I have people
Right.
who work 250 a week. I have people who work 250 for a really big project. I have people who work 1,000 a month. It really depends, but really it's just a matter of go out there, hire somebody for a job, see how it goes. And when it comes to hiring, I don't know if you were in SASO when we did that like walkthrough, but you hop on Fiverr and you basically just look up go high level setup, go high level website,
That
automation, and then you test them out. And that's why I love Fiverr, because they don't just take the money and run. At the same time, not that anybody here would, at the same time, you can't scam them and be like, oh, you did this, I'm not paying you. No, you give the money to Fiverr, Fiverr holds it, and they say, hey, was the job done? Cool, you can have your money now.
okay.
Was the job not done? Okay, let's do an investigation. Okay, cool, you get your money back. Or no, they did do the job, they get the money. And so Fiverr is a really nice mediator in that sense.
Awesome. I appreciate you staying over.
Thank you so
Of
much.
course.
That's cool.
This is definitely stuff, and I can't thank Tim enough too. I'm about halfway through you guys' call. So
Oh yeah.
so it was awesome that you guys recorded that too. So yeah, thank you guys so much.
Yeah. Grant, you have one last question before we dismiss?
Yeah. So one, I'm just asking if you've ever done this before. Have you ever like consulted with someone and realized like if they're like, so I'll bring it back to you a second. So like, these people that I know that do life insurance, they knew that they heard the term like CRM, like when they heard about like what I do and stuff.
Yeah.
And so they hit me up and like they were like talking about all this crazy stuff and he showed me I forget the name, Integrity, Integrity Marketing.
Yeah.
So I went on his CRM and it was like, and they basically want that because they made their own like lead gen system. And I kind of like I came down to that. I'm like, because there's a different part of it. Like they want like a brand and like recruiting and like marketing and a funnel for that, which I
Yeah.
can do.
Yeah.
But this whole CRM they want, basically where that they're going to sell leads to like sales reps from. I was like, I'm gonna like, so I was like wondering if you've ever like third party development of like a full CRM. Cause I
So
found some like kind of you found a developer for them to make the platform they want.
So you know, like well, number one, that sounds like a new technology thing. So they're looking at like, if you want to develop a new technology, you're talking about like hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah,
Just-
and they were saying like their budget for like a whole new system, like for the company itself would be like roughly around 100 grand.
yeah,
So
then,
like,
you can build it out. Yeah. You can
yeah, and
use,
then I found, but I knew someone that does develop like dev and like programming and stuff. And so I hit them up and like I just didn't know if you were like if you've ever done that or like know anything
yeah,
about.
yeah, all the time. And here's the really interesting part about that. Even when they're developing a new software, none of the software is their own. It's a software stack. So
Yeah,
they're using coding languages. They're integrating it with already existing low level apps. And I don't mean low level like low quality. I mean just like these really simply functioning apps. Like you can integrate. There's one, I can't remember the name of it. where you can set up, like, you can develop your own internal team CRM, and it's like really, really low cost. I'll see if I can find the name of it, but and it's really complicated though, at least for someone like me. So there's so many
Yeah.
different ways you can do it. If it's a budget of like that price, we could always talk offline. I can show you how I would set that up. But really it's sell the solution and then worry about fulfilling it.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds like anybody hearing it for the first time, it's like, that's so scammy. No, scammy is I can do that and then not being able to do it.
That's what I said. I told him, like, I made it clear that, like, I'm not like, I was like, we have an application that we build upon for, like, when it comes to, like, CRMs and, like, workflows
Yeah.
for most companies. But I'm like, but I could figure something out like this. And
So
like,
let me say two things to answer this question. And this will bring it full circle before we wrap up. Number one, don't be tied to high level. Don't.
yeah, 100%.
Perfect. As long as you can digest that pill, beautiful. Here comes the second part. This is why I told Tim at the very beginning of the call. I don't know if you caught. I think you caught the beginning of it, and I'm going to repeat it as we end the call. Everybody on this call, as you grow, you will become project managers and you will not be marketers. That's how it's going to boil down to, because
That's how,
Grant
yeah,
Grant is going to be tasked now with, he's saying they have this massive budget, which could go potentially super well for him. He's not going to be the one building it out. He's not going to be the one marketing. He's going to be the individual saying, we have a project. How do we get this done? So what is he going to have to do? He's going to have to figure out who can do it, with what tools, how much is it going to cost, what's the timeline, what are the KPIs they want, how do I communicate with the people to make sure they're happy, how do I communicate with the team to make sure they're doing it, how do we fix it all together, what do we do when things go sideways? And you're essentially building a risk assessment, work breakdown structures. You're having the Six Sigma methodology applied. You're having SASO applied. How can we make this more lean? How can we lean out even the software? How can we lean out the processes? How can we lean out the communication? And essentially what's going to happen as you become a growth consultant, or as you grow, you're going to become a growth consultant. You're going to have half project management, half marketing. And so you're not going to actually end up doing the marketing. At the end of the day, like, think about it. In 10 years from now, if you stick with this, you're not going to be the one building the SEO. No, you're going to be the guy who is going to be saying, I have a team for SEO. I have a team for marketing. I have a team for paid direct listings. I have a team for PPC. I have a team for social. They start here. As they go up, these different teams are working on the same client at the same time. And these teams are not working on them and they're working over here. And I need to make sure I have people who are managing them. And then I have someone who manages all the managers. And then I am in the loop of everything. And that's how it's going to grow. And so, if they're saying we have 6 figures to do this, I have one of my VAs is a automation, and he builds his own software. He built his own version of Spotify. He's working on building I'm not going to say too much because I don't want to give away one of the members within SASO University. They have a really cool project coming out where they're building this. It's like the stock market, but for his own industry. I don't want to share too much because it's his project and I don't want to give away the thunder, but he has a massive project that he's building out with one of these VAs. And so it's the VA, it's the software stack. And that's why, again, I love working with the Pakistani VAs, because a lot of them have this IT background that I'm never going to catch up to. Why would I? I have the vision. They have the ability to execute. So why don't I bridge and I make sure they know what I'm looking for? And there's going to be a lot of back and forth of what I want to happen, the vision, and how do we actually make the vision come to life? And then the vision is going to change based off of what, when rubber hits the road with the actual client. And so it's really a fun process. Is it really confusing at first? Yes. But let me tell you, it's like the feeling of potential anxiety that you may have. It's the same emotions associated with excitement. The only difference is how you're interpreting it. Because when it's the first time, you're like, sheesh, I don't know. It's like, I don't know how this is going to go. It might be like nerve wracking. You might be like up all night tossing and throwing about it. The minute you do one little project like that, it becomes a game. That's why I love having a business bank account separate from my bank account, because I look at the numbers and I go, cool, how do I turn this into a game? When I started this group, I had 9 members. We're at 51. And that covered all my expenses. I land a high ticket client. How do I take that money and turn it into 2 more clients? It becomes a game. It becomes really, really fun. And you have the contract set in place to protect everybody. So that way you can have fun within limits, right? That fun doesn't include running away with their money and, selling a fake building in South Africa or, whatever crazy schemes or scams or, whatever. but that's where you can really have a lot of fun with it. So again, if you want Grant, we can talk offline about that. I can either tell you how I would do it, I can work with you on it, or just give you some direction. But um,
Yeah, that's kind of where that call I was gonna have with you next week
yeah,
gonna go towards a little
yeah,
bit of that and like the agency in general, but mostly that.
yeah. And so like, let's say we do the call next week, and Team Rebecca, take note, see how I'm talking to him in a free group. And I'm like, oh yeah, we could do a paid coaching call next week. And he's looking to get clarity and direction on something that could either A, give him clarity and he feels much more better and confident in the business, which is, I mean, who can put a price on emotion? Or B, help him land a massive 6-figure deal, his first 6-figure deal ever. And he's very new to this industry. And that's not to put Grant down, but that's to say, look how young this group is. And Tim's crushing a 2K account. We've got several people with 500 a month accounts. Grant's talking about possibly landing, high 5-figure account. Like that's where the group gets really, really fun. Kevin is absolutely crushing with his industry right now. So this is where it gets really, really fun with the group. So yeah, Team Rebecca, take note. That's exactly how you do it. And
But we're
that's
surrounding
Grant.
ourselves with the right people. So that's a good thing for us.
Yeah. And that's where Grant is more than happy to do it. And Grant's not even close to the first person who's done a coaching call, but he's happy to do it because he's like, hey, you have knowledge that's very tailored to me, and it could possibly land me a massive client. At the very least, it's going to give me a lot of clarity on the business.
Just want to be a bird on the wall during that conversation. I want to hear the plan. So exciting. I'm excited.
Yeah. And Tim can confirm, and there's a few other people I've done where the same thing, where we record the call, I give it to them, and you do what you want with the call. And so they can share it, they can post produce it, they can do whatever. But there's a lot of fun to do. I've been doing this for years. So like the stuff that, and I'm not saying this to put anybody down by any means, because again, I not just embarrass myself over tankless, and I don't even know what the opposite of tankless water heater is. Is it just a tank water heater? I have no idea. So I say that to poke fun.
Not HVAC, but I left that part.
Terrible install.
It's a plumbing thing,
plumber.
but anyway, I wasn't even going to stop you. You were on a roll. So
Yeah, so I don't even know what it's called, but the thing is like, and that's what helps build my authority. And that's what can help you build your own authority, right? Address what you know and address what you don't know. I don't know how to start a lawnmower. I've made lawn care clients thousands, close to millions of dollars. I don't know how to start a lawnmower, but I know marketing. So when it comes to like Grant's thing, like I know this very, very well. Do I know much about insurance? I know from the consumer side as someone who shopped for insurance. I don't know. And I know actually I'm working with a veteran mortgage team about actually creating the funnels and doing something very similar to what Grant's talking about, but not in the insurance side. So I know enough to where I can have a similar lens, but I work with people who've built their own CRMs, who've built these massive softwares just by stacking, single-handedly by themselves. So that's where, the calls, I say all that to say, these calls are very low knowledge for me. There's so much more I can't wait to share with you guys as I push you to the level of those coaching calls, like where Tim was able to hop on the coaching call. And I was like, hey, I know you've done video for a while, but this is a really cool way to get people out of their shell for video. And he was like, oh, this is awesome. And then he went and I'm so, like, the thing about $2K a month, that's 24 a year. That's half of most people's salary. That's half of the median income in the United States. 50K, 40 to 50K in the United States. That's half the median income of one client. And I know Tim has crushed it in the past with this kind of tickets. I know this is like nothing for him and he's cool as a cucumber, but like, you got to pat yourself on the back. Even a 500 a month client, do the math on that. That's 6K a year. You take away expenses, that at least covers high level costs right there at the highest plan. And now everything you're doing after that's pure profit. And then you raise up a little bit more, you automate more, you raise up more, you automate more, and then you build a business you can step into. Like, you guys have to celebrate these little wins. But I say all that to say, like, that's where the coaching calls come in, where it's like, hey, I'm at a more advanced or specific state in my business compared to like the group. Could we hop on a call and I could get some clarity? Yeah, of course. And that's why during those calls, I try to make it to where you can see a direct ROI. So I know we went like way over. I love these calls. See, I pulled a Team Rebecca, right? I love these calls. Do it. If you're going to do it, right? If you're going to pull a Team Rebecca, do it in a group setting to where you can put
passion is showing for sure.
It's exactly, because now I can take this. And even though I spent a lot of time, I'm not going to say wasted because I have a blast myself. I can post produce this into content that's going to resonate with more people. And so other business owners may get answers to questions, or they, at the very least, they may see, hey, this is a community where I could join. I could get so much more clarity than what I have going on now. Cause there's nothing worse than feeling lost. I hate that feeling. It makes you want to quit every time, every single time. So post produce your content. If you're going to do the long calls, Team Rebecca, do it my way and have everybody there. So that way you can really show a lot of value. And then people are going to have follow-up questions. You take it offline and you have those as the coaching calls. So I'll go ahead and wrap up the recording. Let me go ahead and do that now.